I have always been here.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, geeks, nerds, and ambassadors everywhere, and welcome back to the Ambassadorial Wing. And I hope you all are having a absolutely fabulous, wonderful, awesome Saturday evening. And we are back alive with another modern pop review here on the Ambassadorial Wing. And with me tonight, you know him, you love him. He's got a far sexier voice than I do, Mr. Zach Leary.
Good to be back.
Zach, good to have you back, my friend. And tonight, we're talking Kenobi, episode 3. But before we get into the discussion, smash that ever loving like button, force push that sucker, force choke that thing, force choke it harder than Darth Vader would. Share this out with all of your Star Wars friends, whether they are OT, PT, or ST fans, and tell them this is where the party is tonight. And we are going to get down and dirty with our discussion on Kenobi Episode 3. And if this is your first visit to the Ambassador Wing, I hope you enjoy your time here. Hope you enjoy the stream. And if you are here live and you're watching this on YouTube, I have dropped the link for the stream in the chat. So if you want to pop in with me and Zach and share your thoughts on Kenobi Episode 3, the link is there. Use it. But with all that being said, we do not stand on a bunch of ceremony. I don't do a 15-minute intro. We jump in right to the discussion. So with all that being said, Zach, my friend, let's dig into it. Kenobi,
All right.
Episode 3.
Yeah, we kind of disagree on the episode. I mean, so first of all, I think we both kind of enjoyed, for the most part, the first two.
Oh, I thoroughly enjoyed the first two. Absolutely enjoyed.
So
Yes.
I'll tell you where they lost me with this one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And, I do want to address the Reva content or
Yes,
controversy.
I do as well. I absolutely
Okay.
do as well. Yes, but go ahead.
So here's my problem is, what was that choreography that we saw? I mean, that it was almost shocking, the choreography of that lightsaber battle. And it's to the point where me, as somebody who's not a choreographer, says to myself, I could do a better job choreographing that fight.
Personally, I didn't have an issue with the choreography of the fight because for me, it wasn't the choreography that was even remotely an issue. It was the story that was being told behind that fight that I found more interesting.
I agree with you there. Yeah, go ahead.
So, I view this episode of Kenobi almost like a horror movie. If you notice the tone of the score for this episode and you notice some of the shots, they almost shot it like a old school horror movie, and Vader is the monster.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in this particular context, it was fitting because Vader is the monster. Anakin is now the monster that has become Vader. And Obi-Wan is the prey. Leia, to a lesser extent, they kind of keep her out of the realm of danger for the most part up until the end of the episode. But this is all the way they structured this episode, where they don't wait to drop the big guy onto the screen. You've got a little time with Obi-Wan and Leia on the transport that they're going to the planet Mapuzo, which is a mining colony run by the Empire, which is basically a strip mining operation. And
Good
the
sequence.
third,
You've
yeah,
got the tension and everything.
yeah,
That scene was really well written. I'm not saying it's a complete trash fire. Some people will
no,
say that,
hmm,
but and that's a YouTube come and watch my video type of
yes,
opinion.
yes, it
Uh,
is.
that scene was really good. There's certain little pieces of this episode I think are great. Seeing
Mhm.
Anakin on the cliff is great. You know,
Yes, yeah,
um,
hmm,
but that scene in particular, I think, is the best scene of the episode. The one you're talking about, where it's he calls her Leia. It's like that's
yeah,
my wife's name. I get confused. Really
yes,
good, and you can kind of see the Alec Guinness shining through, which is a big thing he wanted to do with his characters. I got to put together the transitionary phase and become this guy in A
yes.
New Hope. So you can totally see his acting is on point. So the acting
Oh
is
yeah,
great. I
hmm,
would say from almost everybody, but
hmm.
yeah, that would be my favorite scene.
I have to say my favorites there. I've watched this episode 3 times already, and twice with the missus. And this episode, by far, regardless of having Vader in the episode itself, I mean, that's just the icing on the cake for me. Granted, this wasn't the rematch that I think we're going to get later on in the series, and I know there are going to be people that have an issue with that. This was just the appetizer for what's to come. We get this reintroduction between Obi-Wan and Anakin, or in this case, Obi-Wan and Vader. And I have to say it, I said to the missus, James Earl Jones has not missed a beat in his
I
voice
don't think it's
performances.
him.
It is him.
I heard that it was a computer generated version of his voice.
Mm,
Could be wrong.
far as
I,
I understand it, it was James Earl talking.
I
It
don't
was
think
it
so.
was
But
so
so let me go back to the choreography a little bit.
sure. Go ahead.
Is I don't know if Ewan McGregor had some kind of injury. He's an older guy,
Hmm.
but he can't run. He can't run, and it's kind of driving me crazy. It was very pronounced in this episode. You could see that in like the Leia chase scene, but it wasn't as bad. But when he's running in this episode, he looks like a senior citizen trying to escape the old folks' home.
Well, here's part of here's
With all due
part of the
respect,
issue.
again,
No,
if he got an injury, then that's fine. But like George Lucas, if you ask anybody, the main direction he would give is faster or slower,
yes.
and that's what he should have been standing right there, faster, the whole time, faster, faster.
Well, here's the thing too. This is an Obi-Wan that his connection to the Force is diminished. It's not gone, it's just diminished because he's cut himself off more or less from the Force. So that agility and that grace that we're so accustomed to see Obi-Wan display is not there. And for me, the chase itself, the chase had great tension. Like I said, it very much felt like a horror movie. It felt like somebody running away from, okay, I know this is going to be cliche as all hell, but just bear with me. It reminded me of a chase scene from like one of the Friday the 13th films where Jason is stalking some idiot, blonde headed, big chested girl through the woods around Crystal Lake. Except in this case, Obi-Wan's the blonde, and he's
Yeah,
running.
no,
He's
I
running.
agree. Yeah, I mean, the
So,
reaction shots and the shots of his lightsaber and his
mhm.
face, and just like you could see that he was afraid and stuff. But
Yeah,
that's Vader, emerging from the shadows is great.
yeah.
Um,
That
but again, it's not that well put together. It seemed kind of amateur, and this is weird too. Is I got the vibe that I was watching a Star Wars theory short film during that whole sequence.
Well, I've not worked, you know me, Zach. I've not worked on any type of set, whether big budget or small budget, whatever the case. So I'm looking at this purely from the standpoint of a fan, for one, but also someone that has watched a significant amount of film. And I'm just, from my perspective, I didn't have a big issue with the choreography for anything in this episode. The fight choreography, the chase, how he was running didn't even necessarily factor in for me. But that's just how my mind works. Yours is structured differently, and that's okay. We
Well,
look at
if you watch it again, take a look at him running though.
okay. Um, Now the interesting thing for me, one of the other interesting things about this episode is, again, we're getting this tension and this rivalry amongst the Inquisitors, in particular the fifth brother and the third sister, Reva. And I think you have a very powerful opening shot or anything with Reva as a hologram there in Vader's fortress on Mustafar. And the exchange between Reva and Vader is exactly how you would imagine an exchange between Vader and a subordinate. And in
He didn't
particular,
give a
when
fuck
it's
about those people at
he did
all.
not he
The
did not
Grand
care,
Inquisitor means nothing. I love that
and
line.
that's why I'm not trying to nitpick at this, but I don't think that was um pre-recorded dialogue per se, or however whatever way you put it and everything. I think that was James Earl in real time. So, because he's never used any of that terminology or that phraseology in any of the other films. For me, they probably brought him in, they record his lines, and then he was on his way. But this is not dad joke Vader like in Rogue One, or even in necessarily Rebels, or even some of the little quips in that we heard in the original trilogy. This is Vader slash Anakin at his most ruthless. And that's one of the things I loved about this episode. Just the absolute cold-blooded disregard for anything other than his quarry. I mean, when he says, "I am what you made me," I was like, yeah, this is a moment that we have been waiting for a very long time. If you're a fan of Star Wars, and particularly these two characters, what would an exchange between these two characters be like in the aftermath of the events of Revenge of the Sith?
So here's the article. We were both right and both wrong. It's James,
Yeah,
but they amplified or messed with his voice or did whatever they did to it.
I don't put much stock in that website. They are about as clickbaity as they come. No offense, Zach. So,
Screen Rant. Well, you got them all. You know.
so anyway, when it comes to we got covered. To me, they are not a reliable source. They're about as reliable as CNN, but
Yeah,
that's a
you might be
conversation for
right.
another time. But seeing the entire sequence where he's been notified by Reva that they've found Kenobi, and him coming out of the back to tank and then reattaching all his cybernetics, and him coming down out of that chamber. That's why I used it for the thumbnail, because I absolutely love that image. All
Yeah,
you've got is
that was
all
really
you've got,
well done. It was kind of interesting to see where those pieces, like the one piece goes straight into his like chest with spikes on it. So it's like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, and we've never really known just how extensively the cybernetic work for his suit was. Now we got hints of it in Revenge of the Sith when we saw the droids attaching his arm and his legs and so on. But with this particular sequence, we finally get to see the machine that is part of the monster that is Vader, and it's a gruesome sequence, but it really delivers on that line that Obi-Wan tells Luke in Return of the Jedi. He is more machine now than man, twisted and evil, at least from Obi-Wan's point of view.
Well, I will say this too,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think this is, I think I'm probably in the majority on having issues with this episode, or minority. I mean, yeah, the minority. Most people, I'm sure, are happy with it, but
yeah,
him trying to burn Kenobi, I didn't like that. It just was kind of odd. Like, it makes sense on paper, but it was like, is that the right move to do? And hearing him scream like Anakin did, I know it's like retribution and stuff, but it was odd to me. It's like, you burned me, I'm gonna burn you, an eye for an eye kind of thing. I don't know.
I felt it was appropriate. I felt it was fitting because this is the man that ruined Anakin's life. Now, granted, Anakin played his own part in the ruining of his life. He made the decisions that he made that led him down the path to where he is now, obviously. But if you think about it, this is not Anakin at the end of Return of the Jedi or even the midpoint of Return of the Jedi. This is Anakin 10 years after the events of Revenge of the Sith. This is 10 years into his life as Darth Vader. And he is still obsessed. And I think, honestly, that entire sequence where he ignites that ore with his saber and drags Kenobi into it, he's like, this is only the beginning for you. Because he extinguishes the fire and tells the stormtroopers, bring him to me.
But how did Kenobi not like go up in flames? So those little minor details again. It's like he's wearing a cloth robe.
The issue is, I think he drug him into a part of that blaze that wasn't quite as intense. He wanted to maim him, but he didn't want to kill him. I do get what you're saying. How didn't Obi-Wan just go straight up into flames? That is a nitpick, and it's not necessarily an invalid one. But Vader wants to make him suffer the way he has suffered. So he doesn't want to kill him outright. And I've heard people say, well, why didn't Vader just extinguish the flames, crush that loader droid, and just tell the stormtroopers, go get him?
Another great point. I had the same thought. And it's not like people are trying to nitpick, but I'm sitting there watching it and I'm like, why? He could very easily do that.
I think for Anakin, for Vader, this is just part of his revenge. And before I say my next point, I do want to say hello to the chat. Price is Right reviews. It's good to see you, bud. Appreciate you being here this evening. So, obviously, we're talking Kenobi tonight, and just George. George, it's good to see you too. Hey, everybody! My childhood heroes have been returning these last several months. George, likewise. So, but back to my point. For Vader, for Anakin, this is all about retribution. This is all about repayment of the hell that he is now in. And I'm glad that they included one line of dialogue, although it is cliche, but I think in this particular context it is appropriate. You should have killed me when you got the chance.
Which could be interpreted in a couple of ways. I mean, he's kind of saying you should have just fucking killed me, then we wouldn't be doing this. You know,
Yeah.
It would be better. It would have been better, worked out better for everybody if he had.
Yeah, that's true. Now, granted, it would have broken the entire lore of the entire series and everything, but yeah, I get your point.
Well, it's almost. I think it was less merciful to leave him lying there.
I agree. But at the same time, you have to look at this from Obi-Wan's perspective too. And I did want to get into that.
Because he couldn't bring himself to do it.
Because this was not just his student. This was, as he said in that scene in Revenge of the Sith, "You were my brother, Anakin. I loved you." This was someone he regarded as a brother. This was someone he regarded as family. And he said to Leia, when I was brought into the Jedi Order, I gained a new family. And he regarded Anakin as more than just his student. He regarded him as an equal. He regarded him as family. And how do you bring yourself to kill someone that you regard as family, regardless of how far they may have fallen? And to bring his perspective to this, give a very warm welcome to Just George. George, good to see you, bud.
Good to see you guys too. How's everyone doing?
Doing good, man. How are you?
Good. I finally got a chance to see Top Gun Maverick today.
Excellent.
Yeah,
I'm gonna probably go see it here next week or so. But did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I loved it. I loved it a lot. It was a great legacy sequel, in my opinion.
Excellent. So, George, your thoughts on episode 3 of Kenobi?
I mean, with a series like this, we got to worry because it takes place in between like the prequels and the original trilogy, and we always worry about the retcons. But I really enjoyed so far the dynamic between Leia and Obi-Wan, and just like how Vader is on this rampage. And like this is like Vader, like probably still in his prime. Like we gotta remember,
Yes.
A New Hope is not for another many years. So like Vader is going to be a lot more active. He's going to be probably more powerful because he's more agile.
Relatively speaking, for what he is now, but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, because he can't necessarily do all the acrobatics that he once could do. When he was Anakin Skywalker without all the cybernetics, but yeah, he's much more active and everything in terms of his hunt, in particular for Obi-Wan. So, and that'll be interesting to see how
that too.
And his obsession with Obi-Wan. So, and also give a warm welcome to a regular here on the Ambassadorial Wing, Price is Right Reviews. Bryce, good to see you, bud.
Yo, what's happening, my man? What's happening? Good to see you, George, and it's a pleasure to meet you, Zach. First time I'm meeting you, so it's a pleasure to meet you, Zach.
Yeah, how's it going, man?
Pretty good. My day was hot. I live in Arizona, so I'm like hot as ever doing some car hunting, but my day was pretty good.
Yeah. Like, what is it?
Well, as of right now, it stands. It looks like, this is a desert like Tatooine, so it's really hot. And we just get the temperature.
Like 100-degree weather?
Yeah, it's like 93 right now where I am. Like I said, like Tatooine is sand and desert.
Almost like mini Tunisia, only over here in the States. So
exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, but to Price, you've been talking in chat and everything. You can bring
in my comment if you want.
I'll bring up your comment right here and everything. Though there's a lot of things I didn't like personally, but Lord Vader is still on point in terms of his mannerisms and the action. That's one thing I applaud Disney keeping the same as he is. Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree.
I was going to emphasize on that more because the one thing that I do, like as much as I hate Disney, because Ambassador knows this, ever since they did to Jennifer, I refuse to get Disney any of my money. But So I try to find any other ways to watch the show, either through piracy, not piracy, but through someone else's stream. But as far as watching this episode, yeah, there's a lot of things that's kind of off for me as far as actual storytelling and all that. But in terms of Vader himself, he's still on point. His mannerisms, his fighting techniques, his ferociousness, the way he, goes after his foes or enemies, he's still on point from my point of view, at least.
Yeah.
So.
Well, in terms of the dynamic between Obi-Wan and Vader,
yeah,
how Obi-Wan behaved in this episode, I was not at all surprised with.
Mm-hmm.
Because when Vader arrives on Mapuzo, the mining outpost,
mm-hmm.
and they're getting ready to, him and Tala and Leia are getting ready to make a run for it. And then he freezes. And it's almost like he is having a mini panic attack.
Yeah.
That for me was appropriate. Not to mention Obi-Wan's reaction to seeing Vader for the very first time. And on top of that, the absolute ferocity and the savageness of how Vader is trying to lure him out. I mean, he's levitating one guy out of a window and choking him at the same time, and then he
snapped his neck.
Snapped the sun's neck.
I'm getting
Price, I'm getting echo on your end.
Let me try to come back in.
Okay. So.
Maybe he has the live stream on.
Yeah, he might be. So, Zach, George, your comments on any of the points I just brought up, or anything that Price did?
As far as like Vader goes, like this is like the Vader that I think a lot of people have been waiting to see. Like we got like a small glimpse of it in like Rogue One, which is, by the way, in my opinion, the best of the Disney Star Wars movies. But yes. we're focusing on Kenobi. But like, yeah, like we like this is like we get to see like more like Vader action in the show, and just seeing like Obi-Wan like dealing with the fact that not only Anakin is alive, but he's become even more of this monster. And Obi-Wan's been through a lot, living like being on his own, being in exile, and just like seeing what like his student has become. And like he's like mentioned like earlier in the episode, like Qui-Gon. It's like you're also probably wondering, like, does he feel like how much he probably feels like he let Qui-Gon down, even though it hasn't been mentioned.
Is that better for you, by the way?
Yes, 100% better. Yeah,
cool.
And I do hope like they go more into that aspect of Obi-Wan's character. Like, does he feel like he's like Qui-Gon down, like what, like, and all that other stuff, like later on in the series.
I was gonna make a point real quick about that because me and Basher had kind of have our own theory when we talked about the previous episode, how Obi-Wan, just like martial arts, you lose some of that muscle memory when it comes to tapping into the Force or his Jedi training, because since he wasn't able to use his Force abilities without being detected by the Inquisitors, like he would have. He always had to try and hide his Force signature from those that are trying to hunt him. So in a small sense, I can kind of get why he's kind of rusty at using the Force, and that's probably why you were talking about him trying to contact Qui-Gon Jinn. He has to reconnect his Force potential to really talk to him, in my opinion. So in my view, that we might see new episodes where he's starting to finally re-tap into the Force and talk to Qui-Gon at some point. But that's just my theory.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm hoping to see Liam Neeson too. But I think another reason that he could be weak is just because all the Jedi are dead and the Empire, right, is in charge. There was something about like, I think it was in Plagueis where Palpatine felt the Force kind of shift towards the dark side.
Yes.
Does anybody remember that? So
yes, I do. I remember reading that. Yeah.
Right. The Force does certain things, and maybe at a certain period favors the dark side more or the light side more.
Well, that is a distinct possibility. That goes into a little bit more of the metaphysical aspects of the Force itself. I think that does play a part in affecting Obi-Wan's abilities, but also as Price brought up, and as I myself have brought up, this is Obi-Wan 10 years without accessing the Force at all. He's like trying to keep his
signature hidden.
impression, his Force presence as minimalized as possible, so as not to draw any attention to himself, because he is protecting Padme and Anakin's son. And if you
And this
remember
episode,
that, well, and also Leia at this point too, yeah. And I think for Obi-Wan in the second episode, when he's trying to stop Leia from falling, you see how much effort it takes him just to do something that would be relatively simple for just about any other Force wielder.
Yep.
And it's an exertion for him, but he does succeed. He does stop her from falling to her death, thankfully, and obviously. But that scene and this episode in particular really brings home just how truly diminished Obi-Wan's Force abilities are. Now, I imagine as the series goes on, he will find it again. He will find that connection again, and he will probably get a glimpse of the Obi-Wan that we saw in the prequels, and maybe some of what we will eventually see in the original trilogy, at least for the little bit that Obi-Wan is in the original trilogy, alive anyway.
Yeah, one thing I'll bring up is, like you said, that at the point in time we finally see the old Ben Kenobi in New Hope. I think during this entire series, if it goes that direction, that we'll see him become humble, because even though he's a Jedi Master during the Clone Wars, in the New Hope from Distinction, he's more humble. He's more not really caring if he's that strong in the Force, but he has the abilities he needs to,
exactly
defend himself, or train Luke to the best his ability to. Send him to Yoda when the time comes. Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
it's
obviously.
like, what is the Jedi, philosophy? It's peace, right? Be at peace.
Yes.
Kenobi's not at peace. I mean, he is mentally tortured right now. He's having these flashbacks. He's got PTSD.
Yes.
He's like living in fear. So that probably has something to do with it.
Well, like I said, basically he's a fugitive on the run. That's how his mindset is. He's a fugitive on the run, trying to hide. So I think I'm saying if they do this right, or do this whole series, that this entire experience of him hiding, trying to protect Luke, is going to humble him in that same way that we see him in New Hope later
on. Yeah, well, and that's the big thing, I think, for all of us here who are fans of this universe and fans of this character, because he is very much integral to the entire story of at least the first 6 movies. We meet him as a young Padawan under Qui-Gon's tutelage, and by the end of the prequels, the entire Jedi Order, except for him and maybe a handful of others, and they do mention one expanded universe character that I think, well, many of us or anything know him relatively well, and that is, of course, Quinlan Vos, who was a on-again, off-again member of the Jedi Order, and he went into hiding as a bounty hunter, as a loner, and when they're there in that hideout on Mapuzo, and Obi-Wan's looking at some sort of carving into the side of the wall, and he's like, Quinlan's been here, and the woman Tala, who is impersonating, is an Imperial officer. She's like, yeah, he comes through here time to time helping rescue younglings, which is in keeping with that particular aspect of Quinlan Voss's lore, because he would help younglings escape from being captured by the Empire,
and also try to how to hide as well, because he's in hiding as well in that case.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing is when they put out the bounty on Kenobi, that's where the tension really kicks in for this series.
Yep.
Because who is the one person that not only Vader but the Empire would want to get their hands on? One of the last remaining members of the Jedi Council, not to mention one of the most well-respected members of the Jedi Order in general, a person that a lot of people in the galaxy would, to one degree or another, regard as a hero. I mean, even Tala herself said it, I would never imagine Obi-Wan Kenobi doing anything wrong. But here in this series, he's having to deal, especially now in this episode, he's having to deal with the consequences of the choices he made on Mustafar.
Mm-hmm.
So, Zach, George, your thoughts on any of those points?
Well, I do have another point. Is
Sure.
I'm
By all means.
wondering, and you guys let me know how you feel about this.
Mhm.
What is going on with Leia? I mean, is she going to be a mainstay of the show?
Well, this is my thoughts on it. As far as Leia, because the biggest thing about the story of Star Wars is Obi-Wan protecting Luke, and he trains him as a Jedi. But everybody keeps forgetting that Leia is a character too. So, in my view, if they were to balance that, where it shows majority of the show is Obi-Wan trying to protect Luke, make sure he's not getting in. Because the way I kind of view it is that at some point he's going to interact with Luke at some point, like Kid Luke. So I'm wondering if they can balance it to where they have majority of him being on Tatooine or wherever he's going to be at to protect Luke, but every now and then interact with him, but all at the same time, Leia should be able to express her story. So I think this, in my opinion, this show could be a good engine to kind of express more of her story along with Luke's story, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Kind of that balance between both characters.
Yeah. George, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think with like the Leia aspect, it's also like because like they always touch upon like Anakin, like the mother Padme has never really been brought up in the original trilogy. So like now's the chance to like, you know, also remember like Padme, and like Obi-Wan starting to see more of Padme and Leia, and because we gotta remember, Obi-Wan just didn't lose a student and brother, he also lost a close friend in Padme that day. So he's seeing like his two best friends' legacy, and he's got to protect her as well as protect Luke on Tatooine. So like, and now he's seeing like more Padme and Leia as they spend more time together.
Yep.
I will say this. In terms of Leia's presence in this series, it doesn't bother me because I think, for one, it's a good motivator, or it's a good motivation for the series, aside from exploring more of the internal turmoil of Kenobi's psyche. And I think that was a good choice for them to bring Leia in as that motivation and that motivator for him. But it also gives us an opportunity. It also gives 1 second, Price. It also gives us an opportunity to interact with Leia at a point in her life where we have never really had any interaction with her. We've seen her in bits and pieces in like the Rebels animated series, and in Jedi the Force Unleashed video game. She had a few scenes there. But we've never seen Leia at this point in her life. And I will say this, and I said last week as well, the young woman actress who just celebrated a birthday. So to Vivian Lyra Blair, we all say happy birthday, young lady, and much success to you, my dear. So I think they picked the right actress, the right child actress to portray this character, because she has a lot of the snark and the sassiness, and a lot of the but also a lot of the gentleness that Leia displayed, adult Leia displayed in the original trilogy.
Yeah.
So
I was going to build on your point real quick. That just like I said, if this series is able to balance that between the Luke and Obi-Wan story, like him trying to protect Luke, like I said, I'm imagining hopefully at some point that we'll see an episode or a couple of clips where Obi-Wan is actually talking or interacting with Luke. Because from my perspective, watching the original trilogy, Luke knows about Obi-Wan. He knows, like, that old man Ben Kenobi. He knows who that is. He knows who Ben Kenobi is. So I'm wondering at some point in the series he will meet and interact with young Luke. Like, it would be interesting to see how he interacts, or how does Luke portray as a kid. So I think it's a good idea to have a both balance of both kids' characters. They're both, because both Luke and Leia are the intermittent. I can't say it right, but they're basically the big core of this entire Star Wars story is Luke and Leia.
Yes. At this point, yes, absolutely. So
it's too big of a opportunity. It's just sitting there, for that to happen, for them to meet for the first time. I think that's like a sure prediction. I think there's no way it doesn't happen. But I will say, here's the aspect, guys, that kind of bothers me about these TV shows. And I've, like, I'm not saying that they suck or anything. I like all of them to a certain extent, but there's like a video game aspect to the storytelling where it's let's go over here, let's go over this way.
Yeah.
There's no like underlying storyline.
Mm-hmm.
And if Leia gets taken back in the next episode back to Alderaan, it's like, what's the purpose?
Yep.
Well, they've given us a secondary plot line, and we can go deep into this and everything and discuss some external aspects.
I would call it the main plot line right now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's definitely the main plot point of the series, but there's also another storyline at play in this, and that is, of course, the character of the third sister, Reva.
Mm-hmm.
And we can discuss anything. I know, Zach, you wanted to bring up some of that some of that discussion as well. Not just so much within the series, but outside the series, discussion surrounding the actress and some of the statements.
I've got a hot take on this.
So, we can definitely dig into that right now and everything. So, Zach, if you want to take the lead on it.
Yeah, so I'll just throw this out there. Anybody who disagree with me, that's totally cool. I think what Disney has done and what she's done is a bunch of bullshit. Okay, when you walk into a world like Star Wars with, I have to imagine, many hundreds of millions of fans. We don't know how many Star Wars fans there are. It could be over 1 billion fans. We don't know.
Possibly.
Wait, actually, hold on. How many people are in the world, man? To reveal my stupidity here. How many people are on Earth?
Around almost 7 billion. Almost 7 billion.
Okay, so then I was right. Yeah. So
sorry.
Could be over 1 billion.
Yeah.
So when you walk into something like that, you're going to get criticized.
Yes.
It's just natural. It's going to happen. And to throw the racism argument at somebody saying they don't like the performance is gross. To me, that's gross. And it's like almost as bad as, it's not as bad, but it's like calling somebody a racist who's not a racist. That we should invent a new term for that, because it's so wrong to do that to someone.
Yeah.
And again, look at who your fans are. They're hardworking people. They're middle-class people. Most of them have families and kids. So to characterize your own customers that way, to me, is really kind of sickening to see. And of course, I think everybody on the panel, I think, vast majority of Americans would agree, we don't like racism. It's wrong. We don't like it. So, but to take a little small percentage of that criticism and to just throw out the racism argument,
paintbrush,
to me is nuts.
Yeah, here's the thing. Me and Zach talked about.
Can I add one more thing? Let me add one more thing to it.
Yeah, go ahead, Zach. Yeah, absolutely.
They threw George Lucas out of his own franchise because of how much they criticized him. An old white guy. Okay, they criticized him into retirement. So it's not like Star Wars fans single out women or single out people of color. That's not what's happening. Look at Hayden Christensen, who was lambasted, mocked for years and years and years.
Jake Lloyd was messed up because
look at
of
Jake
the
Lloyd
that he suffered. Like, he stopped acting. Like, he threw out all his Star Wars memorabilia because of like how he was treated.
They ruined his fucking life.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not race based. So it just annoyed me.
No, here's the thing. I completely and wholeheartedly and unequivocally agree with you, Zach. I read the statement that was put out by Star Wars on Twitter. I can appreciate the sentiment, but it could have been expressed differently. And me and Zach discussed this and everything privately on Twitter and everything. And I said pretty much the same thing I just said now. Are there dishonest actors within the Star Wars fandom? Are there fake fans who are just out there to stir up controversy, in particular those that exist within the online sphere? Yes, there is. And we, all of us, to one degree or another on this panel, we know who they are. And those who are watching this, you know who they are as well. They're not even worth mentioning because they are... Well, I will be a bit hyperbolic here. they are pawn scum. They are an intellectual. They are an intellectual dead end. That's my feeling about these people who throw out the race card just as quickly as someone who would legitimately have racist comments made towards them.
Yep.
And to me, that's a disservice to the Star Wars fandom, which I have been a part of since, well, not to sound like a gatekeeper here, because I'm not trying to sound like one, but I've been a Star Wars fan since 1983. Longer than most of these halfwits on YouTube have been alive. This franchise means more to me than a few clicks and a few views on YouTube. This franchise is a legacy that my father passed down to me. At least how I see it.
You know, you haven't said you don't like the character of Reva. I don't know if you do or don't. But if
actually,
you said to me,
I'm on the fence with the character of the third sister, Reva.
Okay,
I don't dislike her, but I want to know what I want some more of her motivation. They're still leaving that a little bit up in the air. I'm hoping within the next episode or so, we'll get a backstory as to what her motivation is. Her performance could be better. I think some of her dialogue has been a little bit uneven. But as far as the actress's ability to act, she's not a horrible actress by any stretch. She has talent.
I didn't see any criticism, guys. Correct me if I'm wrong. That said she's the worst actress on the show or the worst character of all time. Nobody was even saying that.
No,
people were saying like the criticism I saw was so mild for the most part. So,
well,
I was.
Go ahead, Bryce. That's right, bud.
I was just going to give my quick 2 cents about the entire situation with that. I don't know if any of you guys follow Young Rippa or anything like that from other YouTubers. Well, shout out to him if he's watching. But Young Rippa is kind of part of the Geeks and Gamers kind of crew. Well, he makes a lot of good points as far as franchises doing, like, I guess he would call tokenism, where this is outside of the story. This is not part of the story, but according when it comes to like just tokenizing, bringing a black character to, like, shoving the politics kind of stuff, it just kind of ruins like what's the point of the whole story. Because the one thing I noticed, as far as the story wise, Lord Vader is basically kind of hinting to her, because she quote unquote killed the Grand Inquisitor. He's like, I don't care, and if you do this mission or try and capture or kill Obi-Wan, you can become Grand Inquisitor. I'm just saying, for some small fracture of storytelling, it's basically them trying to shoving like a strong female black character just because she's that. That's just what I'm theorizing. I'm not saying it's true or not, but as far as
I don't agree with.
Like, what do you mean?
I don't agree with that part. The word tokenism to me is like that's kind of a tough word. I think as long as the acting is good and the writing is good, who gives a fuck if it's played by a man or a woman or what color their skin is,
Yeah. I'm not saying I agree with you either, but I'm saying what I'm trying to get at is that, a lot of the criticism about the whole racism BS, that's what they're banking on, that they bring in a actress like Reva, and then they're expecting this to be racism because she's a black character. But then it's like they bring her in so that trying to make it to where we can't criticize her, because otherwise you're racist. We do.
Yeah, so that's not good. See, I'm with you there.
Yeah, but, that's what I'm trying to get at.
I mean, but at the same time, Geeks and Gamers is banking on the counterculture.
No, I agree. I'm not saying I agree with them either. I'm just saying this from when I'm seeing personally out of the show itself. I'm talking about in the story, not the story part of it, where they try to, Lord Vader tells her that she become the Grand Inquisitor, and then adding in the whole politics outside of it kind of gives me the idea that they're trying to build her up at the expense of, like, destroying the Star Wars franchise as a whole, if that makes sense.
I don't see it that way at all. I mean,
yeah.
George, before I go on, George, let's hear your thoughts on this particular point. So,
I mean, as far as the character Reva goes, she's not terrible. I think she's fine so far. But here's like a concern I have, like, because she's got a lot of potential. Is she like and I'm a big Darth Vader fan, but I'm wondering now that Vader's like in on the action, is Vader gonna like overshadow this character? Because like this character, like I think there's a story to tell with Reva. I feel like there's a potential that's kind of being held back.
Mm-hmm.
And look, I think the actress's name is Moses Ingram, right? That's her name.
yes,
Yep.
mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think Moses is a very good actress, but I feel like she's gonna get. I have a feeling they might make a sequel trilogy mistake, which is this character could get overshadowed by something else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, let me throw this out there too. I'll throw out a
Sure,
compliment to her. Her best piece of acting on the show came in this last episode when she sees the Jedi symbol.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
But it's like one of those things. They've got to give her the opportunity to do a good job. So it's not just the performance; it's the writing, the direction, and everything else. She's got to have the opportunity, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think the next episode I think this is just pure speculation on my part. I think the next episode we will probably see a flashback or something along those lines that will reveal her motivation in terms of what she's all about, why she is where she is now, and who she is as a person.
Yeah.
Well, there's been some speculation that I do like that has Reva as being one of the children at the Jedi
it's
temple
been all
from the beginning.
Yeah, it's all been corroborated. That she was one. It has pretty much corroborated that she was one of the children at the beginning of the first episode that was trained with that one master when Order 66 takes place.
Gotcha.
I like
so
that.
I got one question.
George, go ahead, and then Price.
I just have like a question. Is like Kenobi only going to be 6 episodes?
Yes.
Yeah, but they're doing a second one.
Wow.
To like Ambassador's point, I feel like if since it's only going to be 6 episodes, we're 3 episodes in. Next episode, I think you have to explore Reva's backstory because now we're at the halfway point.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, they've got to give her character some build up. They've got to give her they've got to expose her motivation, because I think it's more than just seeking acknowledgement or even position with Vader. I think there's something more there, and the fact that she knows that Vader is Anakin. That for me, they need to explain this. Now, I theorized. I gave out a theory last week in my review and everything as to how she possibly could know that Vader is Anakin, but they need to explain this, because this is a huge piece of not only her motivation, but it's a huge piece of lore. So, and very quickly, I want to say hello to the chat. DJ Ronnie, it's good to see you, bud. Appreciate you popping in this evening.
So that begs one question for me. I mean, for the series, real quick. So, but you guys mentioned it's only be 6 episodes of the entire series, or just one season?
They're doing a second one.
Oh, okay. So it's not
yeah, they're talking about doing the second one. Yeah, they're doing
but what that means, who knows? Because they came out and said it's like, is it a season 2? We don't want to really say that yet. So it could be like Kenobi in 2 years' time. We don't know.
So my question is, as far as the storytelling of this whole series, that there's 3 characters involved in the original story is Bail Organa, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Master Yoda. Where's Master Yoda fit in this whole series? Because he's the one who helped separate the 2 twins in the first place and instructed Obi-Wan to watch over Luke. So where would Master Yoda fit into all this?
I wouldn't mind seeing Yoda. To be honest, guys, I wouldn't mind seeing Yoda.
Yeah, like I said,
But here's the thing, though. And I know I'm kind of on the fence with the whole lore and canon thing.
Yeah.
But Yoda, there's a deleted scene from Revenge of the Sith where it shows Yoda arriving in a ship and everything on Dagobah, and he stays there.
Yeah.
Plus, it's
I'm
an escape pod. So, can an escape pod even? I don't
probably
know.
not. No, probably not.
Well-
He probably can't. Well, I think he uses that ship as part of the structure for his home there on Dagobah. Because if you look at the shape
Oh,
of the
does he?
ship, if you look at the shape of the ship itself and you look at the shape of his home, you could make the argument that that was part of the structure for his home. He may have hollowed it out somehow. I mean, he is a powerful Jedi Master. He can pretty much do whatever he wants with the
Mhm.
Force or anything that he wants.
It is
I'm-
kind of. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well,
No, that's okay. I made my point. But go ahead.
well, I was going to mention real quick that but I know because obviously he's going to be on Dagobah in hiding like Obi-Wan is, but it makes you wonder since he like or I'll talk about Obi-Wan kind of losing his touch with the Force, so it makes you wonder if he's going to rediscover his Force potential by I don't know, maybe going to Dagobah to see him or speak to Yoda through the Force, and Yoda kind of I guess help reinforce his Force potential again to keep his drive going. And that's what I'm kind of theorizing.
Yeah, it would work. Him being a main character, I'm not sure. Him leaving,
No.
I'm not sure. But again, I like Yoda, man.
We all like Yoda.
You could do a thing like where Yoda communicates with him, and he's like, "Get
Helping
in
him
touch with
away.
your power, you must,"
Yeah.
and all that
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah,
thing.
something
Keep
like
the
that.
girl
Yeah.
safe, you know.
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to there being like a Force connection type of thing where they hear each other telepathically through the Force. I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
Anything, but Yoda physically leaving Dagobah, I'm very much on the fence on that.
No, I'm saying Obi-Wan visiting him, not the other way around. That's what I'm thinking.
I think that would be fine.
It could potentially be. I mean, I'm not opposed to it. Again, I'm not trying to. I'm definitely not trying to sound like some other people that are a lot more hardcore about lore and canon and everything.
Absolutely.
I mean, I am all for keeping lore and canon kind of, not for lack of a better term, sacrosanct. But the way I've looked, and this is something I have said before, I look at all of these shows and everything, live action or animated, that Disney has done thus far as new EU. The old, and here's the thing, and this drives me nuts as a Star Wars fan when I see people who, some that I regard as friends, I regard obviously our fellow fans. They're acting like the old expanded universe no longer exists just because Disney decanonized it. It still exists. You can still get that media, the books, the comics, the video games, all of it's still out there. It hasn't gone away.
Yep.
And I don't have a problem with the new expanded universe as I canonize it and everything in my own mind that Disney has done thus far. The only series that they have done that I didn't particularly care for is Bad Batch. And, they're doing a season 2. Okay, fine. Do a season 2. I'm probably not going to watch it. Because I'm just not invested in those characters, but I will give the other series that they have announced that they will bring out in the future a chance. I'm actually kind of interested to watch Andor. The teaser that they released looks interesting to me.
I'm not. He's such a B character.
And
B character.
And hey, you know what? That's fair. You're not interested, you don't have to watch it. I'm not going to tell you have to.
Well, I'm just saying. I mean,
yeah.
If I was them, I would be doing
picked
more interesting stuff. Lords of the
I
Sith
agree.
would be a good one with Palpatine and Vader.
Well, we are getting the Acolyte, which I am still very much interested in. I have not lost any interest in that series because that takes place in a very interesting point in the Star Wars universe. It takes place pre-prequels. This is almost like a pre-prequel in a lot of ways because it leads up to the introduction of Plagueis.
Yep.
So I mean, it's I think several hundred years or so before Plagueis comes onto the scene and before he's inducted into the Sith Order, but still, it touches on a character that we've only gotten hints at in one outstandingly well written book, not to mention a great audiobook in general and everything. Um, I mean, I love Plagueis. I listened to it, and the guy they got to do the read along, Daniel
That was
Lewis Niles or Professor Moriarty, if you prefer, from Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Yep,
Absolutely
very good.
perfect, absolutely perfect. But to kind of bring this back around to Kenobi, I will say this: I do like the dynamic of Leia and Obi-Wan's interactions. He's not antagonistic. He's not hostile towards her. He's trying to keep her alive. And I absolutely love the scene, and Zach, you brought it up earlier, when they're on the transport and everything, and it's after the stormtroopers leave. And she's like, I knew there was something you were hiding from me. You knew who my real mother was. Are you my father? And you see the expression on his face. So, Zach, George, Price.
I was going to mention one thing. I don't know if it's a contradiction or another kind of, I guess, breach of canon, that because the only time really, as far as the original trilogy, the only thing we really see of Leia talk about her mother was Return of the Jedi, when she was talking with Luke on Endor. So it kind of puts into question, like, because like as a little kid, she tells Obi-Wan, "You knew my mother," but then like we see her in Return of the Jedi, she barely even talked about her, according to the Carrie Fisher version of it. I mean, so it makes me kind of ponder. Then how does that make sense if a little girl is asking who her real mother is if she barely talks about her as an adult later on with Luke? So I'm trying to make that sense. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. That scene in Return of the Jedi is so brief, and their exchange is is very limited.
True, but it's still pondering at the same time. Yeah.
No. Also, I get. Go ahead, George.
Didn't like Revenge of the Sith also kind of like change that around, because like Padme died in childbirth, so it's like does Leia have like a super good memory of remembering her mom like right when she was born?
Yeah.
What was the line from Return?
So like,
just flashes, memories. She was very beautiful. She was very beautiful, but sad. Now here's the thing, and this, and now here's
I
the
didn't
thing.
mean to cut you off though, George. What were you saying, man?
Yeah, no, I was just like saying like Revenge of the Sith, like didn't that also kind of contradict that as well? And look, I'm a big Revenge of the Sith fan, but like even then, it's like does she have like a super good memory to remember?
It's impossible.
Well, but here's the thing: this series could fill in that plot hole, because Obi-Wan doesn't have to tell her everything. He doesn't have to tell her, "Oh, your mother was a senator in the Senate," although that would be a great motivator for her to eventually become a senator in the Imperial Senate. He could tell her. Obi-Wan could give her just enough. He could tell her just exactly what. Okay, here's the exact line. Luke, do you remember your mother, your real mother? Leia. Just a little bit. She died when I was very young. She was beautiful, but sad.
That so doesn't work.
But here's the thing, though. If Obi-Wan tells her, these are some of the things that I remember about your mother, that can fill in that plot hole and can make that entire exchange between Luke and Leia in Return of the Jedi make complete sense.
No, it doesn't, because a flash is like a picture. When I think flash, I had a flash. What is it? Flash? Is that what she says? Glimpses?
Something like that.
That's like a visual picture of it. Yeah,
but here's the thing. Obi-Wan could show her those flashes from his own memories of Padme.
Or if it has a hologram.
No hologram. show her through the Force his own memories of Padme into her mind.
That's not going to happen, though.
It could.
They're not fucking smart enough to do that.
I give Deborah Chow more credit than you do, Zach. No offense.
Well, I didn't even single anybody out. I'm just saying in general, they would never think of that.
Mm-hmm.
They might.
Well, my 2 cents about the whole thing when Ambassador read out her actual line from the movie, that and it basically kind of confirmed and kind of made more sense now that she knew who she was. I was going off of the opinion that she barely knew who she was. Like, she just knew her. She was happy and sad, but like now that Ambassador mentioned that she knew that her mother died when she was very little. She just didn't know exactly how she died or who was she really like.
Okay.
So by that opinion, Leia knew who her mother was, just didn't know much about her.
Here's how they can fix this.
Yeah.
Here's how they fix it. They kill that Bail Organa's wife. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they could fix it. Kill Bail Organa's wife.
But here's the thing, though. Leia knows she's adopted. Luke says specifically to her, "Do you remember your mother? Your real mother. Your real mother, not your adopted mother.
Well,
your
she
real
is Morgana in every sense of the word, right?
Yes, but she knows." Again, Zach, it's the fact that she's adopted. She knows for a fact. Yes, she is organic in name, and yes, she does have claim to that. She was given that name by her adopted parents, much like I was given my name by my adopted parents. Granted, you weren't here for that stream, for that review, Zach. But I absolutely love that exchange between Bail and Leia. I did. I absolutely loved it because I had a similar exchange with my adopted mother when I found out that I was adopted. I remember that conversation to this day.
And my mom's also adopted too.
Yeah. So for me, the fact that Leia and Bail have that conversation, I think was a very powerful moment. I think was a very good moment for them to put in this series because we get bits and pieces of Luke's backstory, Luke's relationship with his adopted parents, but we never really do with Leia.
Yeah.
And just, I know I'm feeding a lot more of my own personal background into this and everything than maybe I necessarily should, but you know what? Speaking as someone who is an adoptee, I love the fact that they have incorporated that aspect into Leia's character.
I like that too.
And the fact, because the whole concept of adoption is something that in different forms of media is not often discussed or expressed. And
in some respects, it can.
It like can be, yeah. But I think in terms of within the Star Wars universe, it plays a much more prominent role, particularly with the characters of Luke and Leia, and maybe even to a point Obi-Wan.
Yeah,
because
every main character from Star Wars is adopted
to one degree or another. Yeah. I mean, okay. Let's lay this out real quick. Palpatine was adopted into the Sith by Plagueis.
Yep.
Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon Jinn, all the Jedi that we know of were adopted into the Jedi Order, and as Obi-Wan framed it, a family.
Well, you could use the word kidnapped as well, right?
You could use that. You could use that term too. Yes. Yeah. There has been many discussions about the efficacy of what the Jedi did in terms of taking children away from their family. Although in some cases it was voluntary, but in some instances not so much. But I get your point, Zach. Yes.
Yeah, there were like so many different crazy stories about that because even I'm a big Star Wars fan, obviously, but even for me, I see it outside looking in. Yeah, the Jedi were kind of unethical when it comes to their
sketchy,
bringing children. Yeah, very sketchy. Yeah, shady.
Yeah. George, I want to get your input on this particular topic or anything. What do you think
What
in
was the
terms of
question
the?
again? Sorry.
No, it's okay. Okay, it's kind of a multi-tiered question. How do you feel about the whole dynamic of of Leia and Obi-Wan's dynamic? How do you feel about that? How do you feel about Leia, them potentially fixing the plot hole of Leia knowing more about her mother than she lets on or necessarily states in Return of the Jedi, and the concept of widespread either willing or unwilling adoption in the Star Wars universe. So,
As far as the
your
Obi
thoughts on
Wan,
that?
as far as the
Yeah.
Obi Wan Leia thing, I enjoy it because it's something we really haven't seen before. We know about the Obi Wan and Luke relationship, so it's nice that like Obi Wan gets to spend time, even though it's not in circumstances he would prefer, with like his other, well, his best friend's other child. So
Mm-hmm.
I like to see that dynamic. And again, Leia, she asks a lot of questions. She like wants like knowledge. She wants to know stuff, and it's like, how does like Obi-Wan answer these questions without revealing too much? Because you don't want to give away too much.
Yep.
As far as like the thing about Leia's mom, I do feel like Obi-Wan maybe like talking like briefly about her, saying like she was this great senator and like
Leader.
good friend. Maybe something similar to what how he described to Luke about Anakin, maybe like something similar but with like Padme. Maybe that's like inspiration for Leia.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where does the sad line come from? That shit doesn't fit at all either.
But it is in there.
I did want to throw a couple things out.
Sure. Go ahead, Zach.
Actually, it'll come back to me. Lost my train of thought there.
I was going to get my 2 cents real quick because you guys mentioned about how Luke and Obi-Wan have like a lot of story that's been revealed so far, but in terms of actually seeing it, like that's why I really hope if they do this right, if they evolve the story to where we see an actual physical interaction with Obi-Wan and young kid Luke, and see how that, because like I said in the original series or New Hope, he knows who Ben is. He just doesn't know he's a Jedi. He just thinks he's some old car, like an old man or old wise
Old
man,
hermit.
hermit or something like that. So it makes me wonder if we're going to see that evolvement where maybe somehow some of the stormtroopers sometime end up seeing or visiting the Luke's household, and Luke or Obi-Wan has to intervene in some way to where Luke's like, okay, who is this guy? You know, it makes me want to see like
will be angry.
Well, but I'm just saying it'd be interesting to finally see that first actual interaction with Luke and Obi-Wan, and how to establish that Luke does know who he is even before New Hope. You know, hope that makes sense.
Especially because I remember going into Obi-Wan thinking like we're gonna get the Obi-Wan and young Luke interactions, when so far it's been the Obi-Wan and Leia, which I don't mind, but I was like wondering because those trailers always showed like Obi-Wan watching Luke pretending to be flying something.
Yeah.
So like I feel like maybe like hopefully by the end of the series they have that first interaction, despite Uncle Owen not liking Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Well, Zach, did your points?
Yeah. They came back to me.
Okay. Go ahead, bud.
So it's hard to write a storyline when you have very few characters. I think that is a real challenge that these guys have had to really deal with, the writers of this, where it's just Obi-Wan. You kind of have to build everything else around it. I think that's kind of why the story's going the way it does, because he's on Tatooine. They had to send the story out to take him away from it, But I also wanted to say I like the fact that Ben and Leia met, and it kind of adds to why she would go to him in A New Hope.
Yep.
Yes.
That's true.
It gives more incentive, and it even builds upon the scene in Rogue One, the conversation after the big Alliance Council meeting between Mon Mothma and Bail Organa, and she's like, "You're going to reach out to him." She's like, "We're going to need allies. We're going to need help," and she's like, "Are you going to reach out to him, the Jedi?" And we all know who the Jedi was.
Yeah.
And she's like, "How are you going to reach him?" She's like, do you have somebody that can do this that you trust?" And he says, "She's never let me down yet." And of course, we know who he's talking about. It's Leia.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
it's Leia and everything that we see in A New Hope. Now, this is something Madam Ambassador brought up to me, and I want to get y'all's thoughts on this.
Okay.
Why doesn't Vader notice Leia's presence in the Force? Because obviously she does display some Force sensitivity,
Mm-hmm.
but why doesn't he pick up on her? Now, I have theory of my own, but I'd like to hear y'all's and everything on this as well. Why doesn't Vader, or necessarily even the other Inquisitors and everything, notice Leia's sensitivity in the Force?
Well,
Theories.
I was watching different videos and that myself. To kind of give my own theory about it. I kind of watched different videos on different aspects of Star Wars, and my personal theory is the same kind of theory I had with Palpatine when no one noticed him as a child, because the entire, I don't know if I'm sure we all read the Plagueis novel. You know, Plagueis didn't notice. Plagueis never even noticed the presence of Palpatine until he saw his potential. Like, whoa, who is this kid? And then once he finally started tapping into the dark side, he started really seeing how immensely powerful, Palpatine can really be. So my theory about Leia is that she has the Force ability is called cloaked presence. Basically, it's a Force ability that you're able to hide your Force signature from the galaxy, to where if someone like Lord Vader or someone like a Jedi would try to sense you, you would, from their point of view, you would seem just an ordinary person with no Force potential at all. But like I said, that's why it's called cloaked presence. So for Leia,
that her hiding, right, automatically triggered it because she was hiding.
No. It's more the thing. It's more for her point of view, or not point of view, but her unique circumstance. She's instinctively using it. It's like she doesn't know she's using it, but it's like instinctively her. I don't know, kind of explain it, but I think she's instinctively using Force presence to where nobody can detect her real Force potential, just like Palpatine did.
No, Price. I'm not trying to squash you here. Don't take what I'm about to say as such. Cloaked presence is a very high level Force ability that only a Sith Lord or a Jedi Master would be able to access.
But
Leia isn't even anywhere near that that level of ability with her Force ability. Hers is more instinctual in terms of her picking up on people's thoughts and feelings, kind of like how she accesses it in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. She's not. But she has no formal training. You have to go through formal training to be able to access that ability. Like I said, as either as a Sith Lord or a Jedi Master, or even a very high level Jedi Knight.
Pretty fucking cool ability too, by the way.
Yeah, that's how. Go ahead, Bryce.
I was going to mention that I know what you're trying to say, and I do agree with a lot of it. But also, here's the thing: also in the Plagueis novel and a few other sources, I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, as a young child, Palpatine did the same thing before he met Darth Plagueis, because Palpatine as a kid, he was a very arrogant, kind of almost like a Malfoy kind of child. And as he grew up, he hated his father. He wanted to rule Naboo and try to undermine his own father's rule and try to take it over. But like I said, even as a kid, he instinctively used cloak presence until, like I said, Darth Plagueis helped the kid tap into the dark side, and then even Darth Plagueis was baffled, like, "Whoa, how powerful is this kid?" He was very astonished how powerful or young Palpatine would have been. But like I said, young Palpatine was younger at that same time. So.
But here's the thing too. Palpatine's ability in the Force is much more prominent. And there's he had a lot more potential, possibly as a young child, than Leia does, because she's using her Force abilities more on instinct than being formally trained, or just whatever the case may be. My theory is this: Vader's not focused on sensing other Force presences, and maybe not even the Inquisitors are either. Who's Corey? Who's he after? Kenobi. He's after Obi-Wan.
That was
And
that was my answer too. It's tunnel vision.
It's
Yeah.
it's absolute television. Now the question's going to be: is Reva going to pick up on Leia's latent Force sensitivity?
Mm-hmm. Perhaps.
Because here's the interesting thing, and I noticed this in a it was in a trailer I saw just today. It was actually a couple of clips, and I don't generally do this,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a clip of Reva on the Fortress Inquisitorius, the fortress there that all the Inquisitors are at and everything. And she's got her blade drawn. She's got her saber drawn. And it's almost like she's in a defensive posture. There's another clip where you see a group or several stormtroopers drawing down on someone. My question is Reva either going to turn or is she going to become cornered? Because this is another theory I have. I don't think the Grand Inquisitor's dead.
Perhaps, yeah.
So it's either going to be one of the other Inquisitors or it's going to be the Grand Inquisitor that is going to corner Reva. She's going to go into defensive mode and they're in the fortress. But the question is, why would she? Possibly she picks up on Leia's Force sensitivity and she wants to take her as her own apprentice. And Vader and the other Inquisitors are like, you don't do that. Any Force sensitive children are taken in and are turned into Inquisitors.
Mm-hmm.
You should.
What? Now what? Oh, geez.
I love that quote, though.
Seriously, watch them use that, something similar to that.
But I just love my theory. Is I still, like I said, I still think my theory is kind of, I guess you would say, it holds weight, depending how you interpret it. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Lord Vader or anybody is not able to pick up on Leia's Force potential or signature, if you will.
Yeah.
I like your theory. I like the back and forth there. Very educated arguments from both sides.
Yeah, because I'm a big, like I said, mostly in Ambassador. I've been a Star Wars fan since I was born, so I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I read a lot of the books. I'm not saying Ambassador's wrong either. I'm just speculating myself, but that's my theory as far as Leia's Force potential and how she's able to hide it in some way. So.
Well, I do want to, Zach, you brought this point up a little while ago, and I did want to discuss it. This was as Zach said. You think killing the entire Jedi Order and forcing Kenobi into decrepitude would be revenge enough?
You would think so. And I should have thrown in there. It kind of this is what I really like about that. Mm-hmm. It perfectly demonstrates the selfishness of Darth Vader.
Oh yeah.
That's a selfish man who wants revenge. Think about, he already got revenge. The Jedi are dead. Kenobi is a broken man living a terrible life. His only interactions is with Jawas who rob him and sell him back his shit. He doesn't even have he lives in a fucking cave, this guy. So that's just a sign of Vader's selfishness. Really reveals him to be a selfish, nasty character.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? I agree with you, but I'll take this one step further. Vader wants more than just revenge.
Yep.
To quote one of my all-time favorite movies that I've discussed discussed here on the channel, you can look for both the stream that I did and the video that I did. It isn't revenge that he wants; it's a reckoning.
True.
He wants to take from Obi-Wan absolutely as much as what he lost. Because think about it. Anakin, now granted, Anakin was misled, and Anakin also played a own part in his own downfall. But it's more than that. He lost his wife. He lost his children. Or his child. He doesn't know there was two because he doesn't discover that he has two children, a son and a daughter, until Return of the Jedi.
Yep.
He lost his child.
I
Yeah,
think
Zach.
Kenobi lost more. I mean, think of it. It's like if I go with my personal family, okay,
Mhm.
but it's like, what's the response? Take out, a country, a group of people. There's something Hitler-esque about what Palpatine did,
Yes.
and about what
That
the
was
Sith did.
Yeah, that was Lucas's entire point.
It was a Jedi Holocaust. But
In manner speaking, yeah.
they wiped out a race, right? A type of individual.
A group. Yeah. Yeah.
And one that Kenobi was a part of. So, and that Anakin was a part of. I mean, Anakin also took himself from Kenobi by betraying the Jedi, right?
Yeah.
And becoming a Sith.
Yeah.
So it's everything that's happened to this guy has been self-inflicted. It really has been.
To one degree or another, yes. But yeah.
Like it's like you've got to be able to self-analyze. It's like, I know you lost something, but look at what the fuck you did. Look at what you did.
Go ahead, Bryce.
I was going to build on that point that he lost his children, he lost his best friend / master. He killed so many different people. It's not just he just hates all of that. He hates himself. To sum it all up, he hates himself as well. Because he basically failed. He failed to kill Obi-Wan. He got burnt alive, and because I'm pretty sure you guys know that with a lot of his limbs and burnt to a crisp, a lot of his force potential is diminished as well. So he pretty much feels like a failure and hates himself now as well. Anyway,
yeah,
Palpatine probably tortures his ass. You look at look at how much stronger. The great line from the Vader Star Wars theory movie. So much stronger you could have become, and all that shit. Palpatine probably says that.
George, you were getting ready to say something. Go ahead, bud.
Yeah, like remember like why he did all this was because like Palpatine promised him like they'll find a way to save Padme, and despite like killing all the Jedi, not only did he like lose his body, but like Padme ended up dying, and like Palpatine said like your anger caused it. So like of course he's gonna hate himself because now that thought's in his mind that Padme died even despite everything, and he was the cause of it.
Yep.
But remember also that very powerful exchange. I'll say it is a powerful exchange. Revenge of the Sith, when Obi-Wan and Anakin are going back and forth during that pause in the fight, when it's more of a verbal spar, verbal fight more than the physical one. He's like, Obi-Wan's like, I have failed you, Anakin. I have failed you. And Anakin's like, I have seen through the lies of the Jedi. I do not fear the dark side as you do. He's like, Emperor Palpatine is evil, and Anakin's like, from my point of view, the Jedi are evil.
See, that's if I was script supervisor, I would have cut the from my point of view section of that. The Jedi.
The way he says it is just kind of cringe.
But it's also true. It may be cringe. The delivery and how that line of dialogue is structured may be cringy, but it's also true.
It's not wrong, yeah.
Because of the Jedi's doctrine and dogma, he can't have a family. He can't have a wife. He can't have children, because if he is to do any of those things, he's cast out from the Jedi. And, well, I'm just going to say it.
Yep.
Ahsoka made the right decision. She walked away after the entire Jedi Order. I am as big of a fan of the Jedi as anybody, but I would rather be either non-affiliated to either the Jedi or the Sith, or at least not be a somewhat moral Sith and be able to have a wife and have kids and have a somewhat seemingly normal life. Because with the Jedi, you can't get laid, you can't get drunk, you can't have kids, you can't do any of that you can't do any of that good shit that all of us kind of take for granted.
It's
Now,
Jack
to
Tarr
touch-
I was
syndrome.
gonna bring up the Ahsoka thing as well. The way Ahsoka was treated, it's like I know like some people like don't watch the Clone Wars, but if you watch the Clone Wars, like that gives you a good look into like Anakin and like how he feels.
Yeah.
I was going to mention that in a manner that Bachelor's talk about the Jedi Order basically just threw her on the bus, and now you're going back to what Anakin said that from my point of view, the Jedi are evil. That you can't have kids, you basically can't have any kind of normal life of your own. You're basically just like a trying to be an
You're a
analogy,
monk.
but you're basically a Catholic monk of sort. I guess you would put
Yeah.
it that way.
Well,
Also,
you know,
but
yeah,
Go ahead, Zach. No, go ahead, Zach. It's okay.
Oh, okay. The something that's really realistic about the Jedi is that in real life, organized religion is structured to take care of the institution and not the individual members of that particular group.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, this is something I've kind of tried to, in a good way, deconstruct in my own fan fiction that the missus is currently working on editing. Because I've tried to dig into all the back lore and the back history and maybe create a little bit of my own in terms of the early Jedi. The early Jedi, they weren't this order of mystics or anything like that that were attached to the Republic. They were their own separate entity. They were their own separate body. They had their own laws. They had their own everything. But Jedi were allowed to have children. Jedi were allowed to be married. Jedi were allowed to have a normal life. They weren't. Now they did get at times involved in galactic spanning of events if it was warranted, but they weren't tied into the bureaucracy of the Republic. That was one of the biggest mistakes that the Jedi ever made going
Yeah,
into the
a couple
expanded
of them
universe.
were chancellors.
Yep.
Yeah. If you remember in Plagueis, I think it's Plagueis himself who mentioned that some of the early Supreme Chancellors were Jedi. Huge mistake.
Yeah. I was going to mention that I don't know if you guys follow Sip Indus Wave. He does a theory on this as well. That as far as how
I've watched his stuff on occasion. Yeah, go ahead, Price.
Yeah. Like he did a video that kind of did his own theory about going way back to the very early stages of the Jedi. There was another order called the Jedi. I don't know if you say that right, but it's called the Jedi.
You said close enough. Yeah.
Yeah, but basically the Jedi order was basically, like you said, I guess I don't know if it's a race or maybe just a collection of different alien species that became like
Jedi was a designation, not so much a race. It was a designation for anyone that had a affinity or a tie to the Force.
Yeah,
and it wasn't. So anyway, go ahead, Price.
Sorry, yeah, I was going to finish that. The biggest thing about the Jedi versus just a simple Jedi Order, that the Jedi were all about balance. Learn both sides of the Force, dark side and the light. But then now, later towards the modern version of the Jedi, it kind of split out to where the Sith is solely the dark and the Jedi is solely the light. But they just refuse to start learning both sides and really learn every aspect and balance of the Force.
Yeah, exactly.
I did want to throw something else out there. I feel like these episodes have bad pacing. I think, and this to me seems to be just a recurring thing with the Star Wars TV shows. It could be more condensed. Okay. My two favorite Star Wars movies have so much stuff put into them, being Revenge of the Sith, very dense. I am a fan of that particular kind of storytelling. Empire Strikes Back, very dense, so full, both of them full of tons of stuff. The lingering pace of some of these could be cleaned up. I think.
True.
I think you could have
Mm.
put episode 2 and 3 and had it be one episode.
True.
Mm.
It depends. It depends on how they make the story. Yeah.
Well, it also comes down to what's put in, what's taken out in the editing bay. So,
Yeah, well, let's cut the entire thing with the fake Jedi. Okay, Obi-Wan just steals the ship. I mean, that sounds easier, you know. I don't know. I mean, I honestly, if it was a more condensed, I think I'd have a better time watching it.
And hey, I get that. I do. I mean, for me, it's not things like pacing. I mean, unless I'm really paying attention. Okay, let me give you all an example. When, and this is a movie me and Zach have talked about online and offline both. The Matrix Resurrections.
Oh boy.
That movie had such absolutely horrendous story structure, absolutely horrendous pacing, absolutely just horrendous everything. And well, you know, and Zach offers a very interesting remedy for how to watch that movie, and I can't say I don't appreciate it.
What did I say?
You said to watch it as a comedy.
Oh, okay.
As a satire. And if I were to like pick up a copy of it like secondhand, I might give it a go that way. But before I say anything further, I do want to say hello to the chat. Jacob Ironside and Ferris Geeks World, fellas. Good to see you tonight. Hope you're having a good Saturday night. Glad you're here, and thank you for tuning in. So, but you know that
you could
movie,
watch it stoned too. I don't know who's if anybody's into that. Stoned, in some way impaired, drunk.
I'll go drunk. I'll go drunk because in Indiana that sort of thing is still viewed as illegal. So I'll stick to something legal. I'll just do it at home. But yeah,
I got a small 2 cents about the condensing. The condensing about the condensing of a story is good for some things, but not good for everything. Because on the other flip side of the coin, you have Lord of the Rings, who had taken 3 movies to tell one story. It takes 3 long 4-hour movies to
but there's
tell
so much in them, though.
Yeah, I know. So that's what I'm saying. If you can expand the story to where it fleshes out all that story, then yeah. But I'm saying if you try to condense if you try to condense all 3 Lord of the Rings into one movie or one kind of thing, it would just totally be all over the place. It wouldn't make sense. Yeah. So it's kind of a 2-sided coin on that. Yeah.
So again, it comes down to what the director wants and what the editor, what the director and the editor decide to take in and put out. I get what you're saying, Zach. Could all 3 of these episodes have been trimmed up a little, somewhat? Yeah, they probably could have. I liked the.
And it's what is the proper cliffhanger? Okay, for episode 2, if we put 2 and 3 together, it's fucking Vader walking up when he comes into view on the mining planet. Just end with him walking into frame.
Yeah, or even him being assembled. And everything would, and him coming down off the platform.
I like having the immediate threat of him being right there. As
that's not bad either. That's not bad either. I think either one of the ones that we suggested would be good and everything. So
Ferris has got a good question. If you want to check it out.
I'll bring it up. Yeah, I saw it and everything. Price. So, 1 second. Does everyone agree that Hayden Christensen got his redemption in his return as Darth Vader? The thing is, we have not seen Hayden Christensen as of yet in the suit, because those were both stunt players and everything. I forget. I saw an image somewhere. I think it was on Twitter or on YouTube or something, that those were 2 stunt performers that were doing the fight scene with Vader. We have not seen. The only thing we've seen Hayden in is the prosthetic makeup at the end of episode 2.
Well, I will say this: I might be probably the minority of this opinion, that and somebody like I think it was Zach to talk about how Hayden Christensen was hated. I guess
Yes.
mocked or hated. But well, I'm the opposite because in my view, Hayden Christensen was like the Heath Ledger for Darth Vader because the way he acted. Because a lot of things, I think Star Wars Theory did something like this as well, where he talks about confliction. The entire time of Anakin's character to Darth Vader, he was always conflicted about something. He was always conflicted about joining the Jedi. He was conflicted about his friends. Even towards the end, he was conflicted that his wife was faithful, and that's why he kind of lashed out in anger in the last minute. So that's why I think, in my view, put it this way: you know how James Jonah Jameson was like made for the Spider-Man movies, by the what's his name, James Jonah Jameson. Only J.K. Simmons can play him. Well, in my view, the only person who could really pull off Anakin perfectly was Hayden Christensen. In my view, he really pulled off that role. In my view,
I think he did too. Considering some of the cringeworthy dialogue that he had to say in the prequels, he definitely did the best he could. And I think he did a good job. So, George, you were going to say?
I think Hayden's performance has aged well as time has gone on. I think, and I'm glad to see like a lot of people have appreciated it because like Zach, my two favorite Star Wars movies have always been Empire Strikes Back and Revenge of the Sith, and I think Hayden really came into his own in Revenge of the Sith. With Attack of the Clones like is my least favorite of the prequels. And the thing is, I think there was like a lot of line dialogue, not just from Hayden, but from others that I felt like just wasn't delivered well enough. So I don't blame Hayden Christensen for some of the cringeworthy stuff that might have happened in Attack of the Clones, like the sand stuff or like the bad flirting or weird stares with Padme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that was creepy and sexy.
George's dialogue is kind of tricky. But if you get somebody who is just of the highest caliber, you can turn a fucked up line into a great one. I mean, think of all the dumb, stupid shit Palpatine has said. But he delivers it.
But it works.
Awesome.
It works.
It's all in the delivery. You know?
Okay.
It is.
Two lines that we all know well. Do it. And unlimited power.
Terrible lines, but
works.
It's tremendous.
Well, my favorite line, my favorite line from Palpatine is always going to be, "I am the Senate."
Another goofy one, but delivered perfectly.
The way like he delivers the Force is strong. It's like his facial expression, the way he says it. It's like, I don't know. Jeremy John said it perfectly. I'm not going to say it on here, but like if you ever saw Jeremy John's review of Revenge of the Sith, like he says it perfectly.
God,
I saw that.
I think I've seen that
like
review.
A 10-year-old review.
No, it was like from 7 years ago, but like the way like he said like how Palpatine delivered it, it was like very interesting. Price knows because he's laughing.
Yeah, because I remember that line.
I think I get where you're going with it.
Yes, he's like Meg Ryan from that scene in Harry Met Sally.
Well, think about this. Also, the famous line he says, "I can feel your anger." He says that twice in Revenge of the Sith and Return of the Jedi. You know?
It makes you focus.
Yeah,
It
makes it stronger.
Excuse me, Zach. It gives you focus, makes you stronger.
Yeah, because he says the exact same thing to Luke in Return of the Jedi.
I respect that. Ambassador knows the entire script. I really do respect that.
Yeah, I know it too, man. Come on.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, but you guys get the point, though. It's like some of the dialogue sucks. If there's a great actor, there you go.
Well, I will say, and I'll bring it back around to Kenobi.
But I do agree. Whoever said he was better in Revenge, I totally agree with that.
Who? Ian McDermott or Hayden Christensen?
No, Hayden.
That'd be George. He said that.
Okay. Yeah. So, but I will say this. I said this before you two guys came in. James Earl Jones, when he goes, we will have lost one of the best voice actors of all time. Not to mention, I mean, just all his work as Darth Vader, but I think is one of the greatest dads in Disney history. Mufasa.
Oh yeah.
You've got to love him as Mufasa in The Lion King. And I am talking about the 1990s Lion King, not that unholy configuration of shitty CGI known as the live action or semi live action Lion King. No.
He might have the best voice ever, James.
Yes.
I mean, just even the line, "The Grand Inquisitor means nothing." Fucking amazing delivery.
He still got it. Yeah. He still got it. Yeah.
There's so much like I don't know, depth to what he's saying.
Yes, because James Earl Jones has lived this part for years. Literally years. This is the role that he will be known for even after he's dead and gone. Yeah, probably Mufasa's right up there. Maybe his role in the Jack Ryan movies, the ones with
Harrison Ford.
Harrison Ford and Alec Baldwin both. As Jim Greer. Great in those. Loved him in Hunt for Red October. Loved him in Hunt for Red October. And that's one of my all-time favorite movies. So I do want to say hello to the chat, Stephen Murphy and Fook Norris. Guys, good to see you both. Appreciate you stopping in. So I'll bring up this comment right here by Ferris 1 second. Obi-Wan is like Luke in The Last Jedi and Logan. He admitted everything in the Jedi Code. He learned that he had to just survive from the Empire who was hunting Jedi. Obi-Wan is not like Luke in The Last Jedi. But he is like Logan. I will agree with you on that, Ferris. Because Obi-Wan actually was well written, or has been well written thus far. He's not the character of Obi-Wan Kenobi was not written by a hack with an overinflated sense of his own ego. Can you tell I hate Rian Johnson? Even to this day. You say the name Rian Johnson, I start to twitch. That's how much I despise that man.
Hey, Ambassador.
Yes.
Rian Johnson. I want to see you twitch. I want to see you twitch now.
I'm off camera right now, so you'll just have to envision it in your head. So
okay. Anyway,
dude, no. Obi-Wan is not like Luke in The Last Jedi, but he is like Logan. I will agree with you on that one, Ferris. Absolutely. True, yeah. So, I'll bring up Steven's comment here real quick. I think the storytelling could have come down to TV versus film. This was at one time an anthology film, and people have debated the Netflix streaming TV format and whether it works for everything. Yeah.
True.
Yeah, and I think that kind of harkens back to your point, Zach, very, very much so. Let's see here.
Well, they could even have done it with half an hour episodes.
Yeah.
Just to keep it more, it needs to be tightened up a little bit, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Zach, I'll bring up that one here in just a second. So, and real quick to the chat also, Tim's talk. Tim, good to see you, buddy.
Hey, good to see you, Tim.
Yeah. Let's see. Where was that comment? 1 second. Oh, here it is. Okay. That's also from Steven. Christopher Lee managed to make it work, but that's because he's a guy who's worked on so much stuff, both great and not good. He is a great performer. Yeah. I mean, this is a guy who Christopher Lee quite literally did everything. He was a soldier. Mm-hmm. He was a spy. He was an actor.
Vampire.
He was a vampire. He was a Sith Lord. He was
a wizard.
Metal record singer.
The man with the golden gun, James Bond.
He was also a wizard from Lord of the Rings.
And yes, he was. You know that when he was in his 90s, dude, he was doing like punk metal opera music records.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah,
wow,
that's funny.
Oh,
but yeah, Chris Lee is another great example. That guy is. You can't get more professional than that. You know, so there's a great video that. I would recommend to everybody. There's a video, it's like a minute long, of Sam Jackson talking about Christopher Lee.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
so I'm not going to spoil what he says, but really awesome.
Yeah, I'll definitely check it out. Or if you want to put in the private chat, Zach, anything, we can check it out after or whatever. I do want to bring up Ferris's comment here real quick. This is for you, Zach. Imagine if the prequels had Lawrence Kasdan as co-writer and George Lucas. I think Star Wars wouldn't be as good as its glory days with both Lucas and Lawrence Kasdan.
Well, Kasdan has gone downhill over time. Just
Sadly,
look at what he's done lately. He and I correct me if I'm wrong. He wrote Empire.
Well, I'll bring my camera up for this. Well,
Is his name on your poster?
Let's see. Right in between Lee Brackett and George Lucas. Yep.
Okay, so he wrote, probably the best script of it all time for Star Wars. But
I think he worked on.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Zach.
Which other ones did he do? All of them?
I don't have a theatrical poster for the original Star Wars, but I do have a theatrical for Return of the Jedi. 2 seconds. Go ahead, guys. Carry on without me.
Like I said, going off of your point, like I said, what do you try and answer the best question? But what do you think about Lawrence? About if he was working on it with him?
Me or George?
Yeah, you. Yeah, because you're trying to answer the question of Lawrence.
Yeah, so with him, he also wrote Rise of Skywalker, which is a mess.
Oh wow!
He wrote Rise of Skywalker.
Well, Chris Terrio did too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, see, the Disney problem that they have, or hopefully it's gotten better. I think we all agree the writing's gotten a lot better with the shows.
Yes, it has. Oh, absolutely, yes.
Mm-hmm. But they don't know how to pick good writers. They don't know good writers. They keep tapping these fucking lightweight writers. There's so many great guys. I mean, you know who I'd call first? Somebody like Vince Gilligan, okay, who is, not the obvious choice for science fiction, but that's a motherfucker who knows story structure and character arcs and character journeys and can build a fucking giant story and execute perfectly. I'd hire somebody like that.
I'll give you a name, even though he's going to be hopefully pretty busy in the near future. J. Michael Straczynski.
Give me a film. Yeah. I don't know him.
Well, I cover one of his best-known shows, if not his best-known show, each and every week, Babylon 5.
I haven't seen it, so
you need to, Zach.
I'll give it a shot.
You know how you kind of pick at me, or not pick at me, but you push me to watch certain things. You need to sit down and watch fucking Babylon 5. And yes, I'll use the word here. you need to effing sit down and effing watch effing Babylon 5.
It's intimidating. I mean, there's so many of them.
It's 5 seasons. 5 seasons.
It seems like you've been doing the show for like 2 years. You've been reviewing it.
Almost 3.
So wow, that's the intimidation right there. How many episodes is it?
Let's see, 5 seasons, 20 episodes per season, roughly 24 episodes per season.
Wow.
Do the math. Like 140 episodes.
Yeah.
That's like
a lot of episodes.
Yeah, that's like half
and it's a, not to mention they did 3 TV movies, 2 of which were actually pretty good. The pilot, you could almost consider a TV movie in of itself as well. So 4 TV movies. Zach, I say this as your friend. Go effing watch effing Babylon 5.
So is it
and
on
then
Netflix?
You'll see. No, but it is on HBO
I've got to
Max.
go out and acquire the DVD.
No, it's on HBO Max. It's on HBO Max.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on HBO Max. All 5 seasons. They don't have the TV movies as of yet, but I imagine at some point they will. So,
but on this note, real quick, I'm gonna go get some good food. I'm about to get out and go do some more car hunting. So I'm gonna leave it at that.
Go ahead,
so I hope you guys have an awesome night.
Price, you too. Thanks for popping in, bud.
Hey,
appreciate it.
Price.
Yeah, pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you,
Zach, and good to see you, George. All right.
Good to see you, man.
Happy to be there.
See you, buddy. So, Anyway, I do want to bring up Stephen Murphy's comment here. Andrew Stanton is interestingly credited on 2 episodes of Obi-Wan, obviously famous for Pixar directed
Oh,
John Carter, which
why
I
would you
do
fucking
like.
hire the guy who did John Carter? Isn't that
I
crazy?
don't know. I actually, you know what? We were talking about another movie from the 90s that gets a lot of crap. I think John Carter gets a lot of crap because I actually when I saw it, I really enjoyed it. I did. I haven't watched it in a long time. I haven't watched it since it came out in theaters, but it was an interesting adaptation of quite literally one of the great granddaddies of modern sci-fi. So, as we both agreed on with Godzilla 98, I'll agree. I'll say the same thing here for John Carter. I think it's very much underrated. I think it gets a lot of undue hate. So,
I don't
yeah,
hate the
maybe.
movie, but if
No,
that's his only major credential, it's like why?
I don't know what else he's done. I'd have to look it up, and I don't
You
particularly
know,
feel like it right now.
for a big company like them, man, they take too many risks with the people they hire. It's if you're doing, a film with a budget of several hundred million, why would you hire a guy who did 2 indie films? Ryan Johnson. Why would you hire a guy like that? There's just
Because
so many examples of them doing this. Why would you hire a couple of Lego comedy guys to do Solo? It's like, who the fuck is making these hiring decisions? That's the number one most important thing when it comes to making a big movie is who do you hire to write and direct it? That's the key components of it.
Well, you could even say that certain producers at times make bad decisions, and unfortunately, in this case, the bad decisions were made by KK. I mean, she's done a lot of good stuff in her career, but every producer, every director, every writer, every actor, every actress has done bad stuff. It just happens. They've made bad choices, and unfortunately, at times it haunts them. This is true with Kathleen Kennedy. She made some bad choices early on in her stint as president of Lucasfilm. But at the same time, she's made a lot of good decisions. Before she became president of Lucasfilm, I think she's started to right the ship. I mean, she did bring in Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, for Pete's sake.
Really good choices. Favreau's a great choice because he's a great writer and he's a great director.
Yes, exactly.
But like he's one of the only few examples of them hiring the right people, I think. It's like they go with unknowns, dude. It's Disney. Why are they going with unknowns?
Well, because for one thing, you want to give unknowns a chance to prove themselves. How are you going to?
That you don't want to pay for the experience? Could be that.
Well, here's the other thing too. Who was George Lucas before he did Star Wars? He was an unknown. He had done what? 1 movie? 2? He was an unknown. And he went to every major studio, and it was Alan Ladd Jr. that gave him his shot.
But he proved himself, kind of.
He did. He proved it. He proved himself with American Graffiti, and I would say to a certain degree, he proved himself with THX 1138.
I actually really like THX.
I do too. But the thing is, you've got to give unknowns a chance. You've got to give people whether they swing and miss or they hit a home run, you've got to give them a chance. And if they swing and miss, then you're like, okay, you've had your shot. We're going to move on to somebody else.
So here's my definition of giving somebody a chance. I'm not going to put them on the Star Wars movie. I'm going to put them on some rinky-dink She-Hulk TV show or something. You know what I mean? Something of far less importance. You can still try out new people, but you've got to be able to make, like, there's a risk assessment problem that they have. There really is. They don't know when to take risks. They take the wrong risks, and they play it too safe on other occasions. And it may be too corporate too. I mean, you had a guy who invented Star Wars. He was just going on his gut feeling, inventing Star Wars and doing all the movies. That's just his gut feeling. You had one dude making the decisions. How many do we have now?
Quite a few. We have an
Story
entire
groups.
story group.
Yeah.
Look, I get what you're saying, Zach. I'm not saying that it is not without merit, because it is. It does. There is merit in what you're saying. But the opposite of but the counter is also true.
What is the
We're
counter,
just
though? It's like try new people, give opportunity, right?
yes. You've got to
I
give.
agree with that.
No, I know
do
you
agree
do.
with you. But
Yeah.
again, risk management, so important. If somebody
Yeah.
does, well, with Ryan Johnson, the best thing he ever directed was he did one of the best episodes of Breaking Bad. Okay.
Yeah, that was it.
That was it, right? But
Looper wasn't even. Most people don't even remember Looper unless you bring it up. Oh, yeah, it's that one movie with Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Bruce Willis.
that thing
That's
was
the
a
only
piece
thing.
of shit.
That's the only thing anybody remembers about that movie, that Bruce Willis was in it.
And the weird gun.
Yeah, that's it. Now, the whole issue of The Last Jedi and Ryan Johnson being brought in has been discussed infinitum, and I would say to a degree ad nauseum. But I will say this: so far, the 2 episodes that Deborah Chow did for Mandalorian seasons 1 and 2, a lot of people regard as 2 of the best. Thus far, she has done, I think, a good job. We'll have to wait and see how this entire series plays out before we can render a final judgment. But thus far, she has not screwed up. I don't think she has.
To any major extent, right? Like I
No.
said, problems with the choreography I have problems with the pacing, with the lack of complexity, and
I see complexity.
like
You
even
don't.
comics. You read comics, right? I read comics. The comics that I've always appreciated the most are the ones that are dense and have tons of shit in them.
Yeah, no, I get you.
Like,
I
for
agree.
example, there's I forget which comic, the Walking Dead comic. Okay, there was 2 pages, dude, and we literally go to fucking 5-6 locations in 2 pages, and it sets a tone, right? When you have that density, I don't know, and I could be wrong, right? It's kind of like taking its time a little too much. And also it lacks some intrigue for me to a certain extent. I mean, again, I like the performances. I don't think the show sucks or is terrible or anything. But it's like, for example, if we wanted to make Reva an interesting character, here's how I would do it. Show her doing some creepy Sith meditation or some kind of creepy dark side ritual, that could make her an interesting character, because the introduction for her is just her walking off a ship. How lame is that? Before they walk off the ship, show them doing some creepy dark side rituals and shit.
I get it. George, we've been kind of, I didn't mean to kind of dominate the conversation. Your thoughts on anything me and Zach have brought up, or any thoughts of your own?
So on the Andrews Stanton thing, the guy that directed John Carpenter, the only other work that he's done has been basically Pixar work. He directed WALL-E, Finding Nemo, and Finding Dory, and he's been a producer and writer for Pixar. So he only has really one experience in live action film, which is John Carter. So I don't know if I would really go with him unless it's something Star Wars animated wise.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that seems like that's his strong suit. It's something with animation.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
And as far as the whole Ryan Johnson thing, here's the thing: they had an original plan with the trilogy, but Ryan Johnson went a different direction. Now, I'm not saying that original direction would have been better or worse, but the fact is that Ryan Johnson said, "I'm going to do my own thing," and it turned Rise of Skywalker into a course correction film instead of an epic conclusion that it should have been.
I agree. Yeah, I totally agree.
Well, the big problem is, and this has been documented, we all know this, and Ferris, I do see your comments, and Steven, yours as well. I will get to them here in just a minute. we all know at this point that there was a big grudge or disagreement or whatever the case may be between Johnson and J.J. Abrams. We don't know how far back it goes, but we know it's there. And essentially, this was a pissing contest, in particular with the second and third installments of the sequel trilogy between those two directors. One guy came in through mud in the one director's face, and the other director came back and threw mud in the other guy's face. And because of some piddly-ass little rivalry, what could have potentially been a absolutely, as you said, George, epic conclusion to the Star Wars saga. I will never use the term Skywalker saga. Star Wars saga turned into a wet fart, more or less. And that's what kills me, and that's what motivated me to write my own damn story.
And also, here's the other thing. Colin Trevorrow was pushed out because what he wanted to do, Rian Johnson did the opposite. So it kind of pushed Colin Trevorrow out. And I'm not saying Colin Trevorrow would have made the best Star Wars movie, but he probably could have delivered something much better than what we basically had gotten.
And he was for the third one?
Yeah, he was supposed to do like episode 9, and he had all these ideas, but
he even had
Rian Johnson like changed things around.
Well, and even Trevorrow had a full script written. People have pulled it up and read pieces of it, and it actually sounded good. I mean, it actually sounded like it made canonical and logical sense.
He's a risky pick too, in my eyes.
That's true, but you know what? You could say that of any director nowadays. Except for maybe, go ahead, Zach.
I don't know. Well, let me just throw some names at you. You say yes or no. Ridley Scott.
Considering some of his movies that he has done lately, semi-picky, but he'd be more stable than anybody else.
You know, why can't we go established? Guillermo del Toro.
Oh, dear, that guy... Except for maybe The Shape of Water, that guy has done some really freaking good movies.
Well, Shape of Water, despite it being a weird movie, is well made.
No, I will agree with that. Yeah, I'll agree with that. Yeah, Guillermo del Toro, love that guy. The Hellboy movies, two of my all-time favorite comic book movie adaptations ever. I mean,
here's a weird one: Tim Burton.
Oh, Tim Burton. Even his bad stuff has got some charm to it. I mean, I even went and saw Alice in Wonderland and everything with Johnny Depp, the first one and everything. I actually saw it with my now ex-wife. I absolutely loved it. I did. I absolutely loved it. Now, did I watch the sequel? No, because I wasn't particularly interested in seeing the sequel. But for me, Tim Burton, that's why I did my Director Spotlight series back last year. And that's why I included Tim Burton in that list, because he is a great director. He has done great work in the past. His current work is kind of spotty, and everything, obviously, but he has credibility.
There's a track record.
Exactly. He has a track record. So
Batman. He can handle a giant franchise and do it well.
Yeah. Batman. Now, I will say this.
Would he be a perfect fit for Star Wars? That's totally debatable. But he's a guy who knows what he's doing. He's got the track record. But there you go.
Maybe a Star Wars comedy, because I'll say it. I know that some people may regard this as a very bad movie, but I absolutely love it. Mars Attacks.
I love it too. I like Mars Attacks.
I love that movie. I absolutely, positively love that movie. Not to mention it has a young Natalie Portman in it, for Pete's sake. She plays the daughter of the dead president, and who's played by Jack Nicholson, and the first lady's played by Glenn Close, for Pete's sake. And I forget who
Jim
the vice
Cameron.
president. Yeah, I would put. Although I'm probably going to skip the Way of Water, or wherever the hell that is. That next Avatar movie that's coming out, I have absolutely no interest.
Dude, Cameron is a fucking shoo-in, but
I agree.
They would have to negotiate with him. They would have to go to him and say, "Listen, dog, we want you, and here's what we're going to do. Not only are we going to pay you $50 million, we're going to give you 5% of the back end." So that's how you get a guy like that. You got to offer him something, or else he's
Yeah, I
not going to
agree.
do it. You got to
Yeah, I agree.
incentivize him.
Yeah. Let's see. I meant to get to these comments and everything. Hang on. Let's see. Stephen Murphy. They kept on Rick Fumiyama and Bryce Dallas Howard, and they worked out well for them. And Fumiyama has been upgraded to executive producer for season 3 of Mandalorian. Yeah, those two they did good stuff for Mandalorian. I will absolutely agree with that. And Bryce Dallas Howard, she had really good teachers. One, her daddy, and two, George Lucas. And she's not a terrible actress herself. I mean,
So
she's not
Rick
the
has only done TV shows for the most part.
but I think he fits well in there. I think they'll keep him in the stable for I'm not saying that derogatorily. I think they'll keep him for any of the streaming series that they do down the road because he has proven himself to do good work there. Bryce Dallas Howard, if they were to bump her up to a theatrical, I'm not opposed to it. Just because of
Same
her
here.
experience and her pedigree. So, George, you were saying?
I agree with you. I think I think Bryce Dallas Howard would be good for a theatrical film. I think the question Lucasfilm and Disney need to ask themselves is, what's the future of Star Wars looking like? Is it going to be more TV based, more streaming based, or film based? Like I know they still want to make movies. Like apparently, like they got like Taika Waititi, Patty Jenkins, like are going to be making movies for them.
Couple
But
of
the question,
losers right there.
but like the question is, like what's the main goal? TV where you're rebuilding the brand, you're gaining like traction back, or films where the risks are gonna kick back in?
Dude, Patty Jenkins sunk her ship with Wonder Woman 2. I mean, that
Yeah,
thing was the
yeah.
worst written piece of shit garbage I've ever seen. I just don't know who's making these choices, guys. But I
Well,
did
here's the,
want to
I
bring
think I
this
think
up.
the Patty Jenkins choice was made right before Wonder Woman 2 came out. Like they were still riding on the high that was the first Wonder Woman film, and then like
Which was
once
good.
Wonder Woman 2, yeah, Wonder Woman, the first one was great. I love that
Yeah,
film, but
Yes.
like
me too.
that was made at, I think it was like the Disney Expo or like Disney Plus, whatever, but right before Wonder Woman 1984 came out. And now
Mhm.
you're hearing all these reports that maybe the film is going to get delayed. They might bump up Taika's film first. Like, I don't think they're still figuring out their films.
I agree.
They're probably like,
Bec-
fuck. After Wonder Woman 2, they're like, we got to look at her contract.
And I agree. I mean, okay, I'll say it. There are parts of Wonder Woman 84 that I did enjoy, and you and I have discussed this, Zach. But as far as
I
Taika
would still do
Waititi,
that debate with you.
I just don't have it in me. I don't. But as far as Taika Waititi, I like Thor Ragnarok. I thought it was actually a breath of fresh air for the Thor for that particular character.
Same here.
And he's done in terms of the Mandalorian. I think he did 1 or 2 episodes, at least in season 1 or season 2. Those were pretty good episodes. So I'm willing to give him more leeway because he's proven himself to me. I mean, we're all sitting here. We've been sitting here for just a little over 2 hours now. And every one of our opinions has their merits, has their counters. We're all just geeks, fans, ambassadors discussing this stuff. And the fact that we can come to these discussions civilly and not be shouting at each other and calling each other every trigger name that you want to think of is a great thing. And to kind of put a period on this, we are halfway through this series. We've still got 3 episodes to go. I think thus far. It's been a good story. We'll have to see how they wrap it up. Will they be able to stick the landing? They stuck the landing with the Mandalorian seasons 1 and 2. I think they stuck the landing with the Book of Boba Fett. I watched the landing for Bad Batch, and I just went, okay, it's done. This is I hope they're able to stick the landing for this. I really, really am, because this is, as everybody knows by now, it's obvious. This is a franchise I have loved, and at times has driven me nuts. But I still
we
love
need
it.
new leadership in there, dude. We really do. I mean,
And that's
Jim Cameron, dude. If he can come and start doing these Avatar movies quickly, they might be in trouble, man. So somebody is going to come along and turn Star Wars into something that's obsolete if they're not careful.
yeah, possibly so. Oh, and hey, give everybody give a warm welcome to a regular here. He is anything but impossible, Mr. Tim Possible. Hey, Tim.
Hello there. What's up,
Hey,
everyone?
Tim.
Hey, buddy.
How's it going?
How's it going? Great discussion. I've been listening back and forth. I was just kind of munching. I hit the gym earlier, but yeah, I know you're probably about to wrap it up. But you guys been going like two hours and 15 minutes or whatever. But
Tim, please. I've been actually I tried to catch your stream the other night and everything on episodes 1 and 2 and everything. I'd love to hear your take on episode 3. What'd you think?
I'll go through like my positives real quick here. Actually, I like the character of Tala. She was from Game of Thrones. I think she worked really well.
Yeah,
kinda-
that's right. That's where I'd seen her before. Go ahead.
Yep.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Tim.
she played Pedro Pascal's wife in that, his love interest or whatever, queen. But anyway, she worked pretty well, kind of effortlessly. I almost think she's speculating now. I think she's kind of force sensitive because there's a scene in the tunnel where she kind of looks back and kind of senses something's wrong. Maybe I'm just, picking something out there. But anyways, like as far as like the Leia character bothered me somewhat at first because I thought it was too overpowering, taken away from Kenobi, but she seemed more, natural in this. I like the dialogue between her and Kenobi on when they're with the stormtroopers or stormtroopers. That was really nice. I mean, for the most part, shot well. But then it kind of falls apart, right? I actually didn't mind Reva. I like the conversation between her and the fifth brother. I like that little play there. Reva, I understand what they're doing with her and kind of how she's going to unravel. But my major issue in this was like, I feel like this wasn't like the final draft of the script in a way, because there's like little things just with like, I'm sure you guys probably brought it up. So as far as like the bridge or like the little fence thing, why didn't go around? And then he wasn't even going to use the, other aircraft thing or whatever. And then and then how does Tala not run into Reva? There's like just little things, and the whole Vader fight remind me of when you play a video game and you're going up to like you're level 5 and you're like halfway power or you're about to die, but then you run into a level 20 boss and then you just run away like the whole time. It just that fight was very anticlimactic, right? I realize he's a broken Kenobi and he has PTSD, but he's too broken to me. And why I have an issue with that is because, he's supposed to be protecting Luke, right? And then he even has that conversation, what is in episode 1 with Uncle Owen, the boy needs to be trained and he's supposed to be like looking after him, but he can't even really defend for himself, I feel like. He's just like too broken, but for me, and that's where I kind of have issue. And obviously, there's some canon things I'm kind of worried about. So, but I'm divided. Obi-Wan Kenobi is my favorite Star Wars character of all time, and this is just not what I was expecting. Is there good elements and stuff like that, but I don't know what they're even going to do now. I imagine the second fight's going to be a lot more epic and he's going to be full Obi-Wan, but my major concern is we're halfway already. Like we only have 3 episodes left. So, it's I'm conflicted on this.
And I get what you, Tim. I do get what you're saying. We did all touch upon this a little bit and everything before you came in, and man, this is another very good point that Mam Ambassador brought up. Why is he so terrified of Anakin, or why is he so terrified of Vader? Because he didn't realize he was still alive.
See, the
And
thing is,
just let me finish real quick, Tim.
yep.
The other thing is, how do you fight your best friend? How do you draw down on someone that you regarded as a brother? And then you discover that he's still alive. There has got to be massive amounts of conflict going on within Obi-Wan's mind here.
I
Because
kind of
now,
agree with Tim on this. He's too broken. I mean, think about it like this. I mean, one of your good friends goes and kills a bunch of people,
yeah,
right? Or does something horrific like we see on the news all the time, right?
yeah, no, I got you.
I would be the first motherfucker to shoot that guy. I don't care if he was my great friend.
Yeah,
Do you see
it
what I'm
might be
saying?
hard to do the blow.
No, I get what you're saying, Zach, and I get what you're saying, Tim. He almost. I get where he could be
He's a
perceived as
mass
too broken.
murderer of children.
Youngling,
Yeah.
rest in peace. I know it's a joke, but no, like what you're saying, Ambassador. Today I was on Daryl. I think you met Daryl from Backtube. We were revisiting a scene from episode 3, and it's Yoda. It's a scene between Yoda and Obi-Wan, and they're watching the clip of Anakin turning into Darth Vader. Like he knows that he, shifted into it. So that's the whole canon thing that that kind of bothers me. And then even in this third episode, they kind of confirmed. Well, did they confirm or did they not? Because the Grand Inquisitor dies in Rebels, which takes place later on in the thing. But then I heard this guy has 2 stomachs. That race has 2 stomachs, so he's not dead. So
yeah, that's the same theory I've heard as well, that the Grand Inquisitor is not actually dead,
Which
and
is
that's
really a dumb argument, I think.
It is.
I mean, how do they even address that if they write that? She only hit one of my stomachs.
Yeah, because if she only like slashed him across the chest,
No, she stabbed him.
She stabbed him through. We see the blade go through his back. I'm not saying that isn't an issue. Obviously, it is. So it's going to take some pretty hefty duty writing to kind of work that out to where the Grand Inquisitor is still alive.
Well, it would just be like the dark side kept him alive, like Maul.
Yeah, and that is a possibility too. I mean, if they did with Maul, they could do it with the Grand Inquisitor, for Pete's sake. I mean, this is the guy who was a Jedi Temple guard, which was no small thing. And those guys were some bad mothers. So potentially the dark side could have kept him alive, and we'll see him at some point towards the end of the series. We don't know yet. We'll have to wait and see.
But I like the point about Obi-Wan seeing Vader in the suit. I had totally forgot about that.
Well, actually, Obi-Wan didn't see Anakin in the suit. The hologram, the hologram.
He just saw him called Vader. That's what happened.
That's all he saw. What him and Yoda saw was Palpatine there in the temple, and he's like,
"Yeah, I remember.
Well done, Lord Vader." And I forget the exact line of dialogue. But
so I guess the question is like, how much of a public figure is Darth Vader? Do people know who he is? You know,
a lot of the canon is he's not a public figure per se. There are rumors about him within the Empire itself. He is known amongst the upper echelon of leadership. Obviously, Palpatine, probably several of the Moffs, maybe several of the admirals and more higher ranking generals in the Imperial military, some of them like that. but he isn't well known and everything amongst the entire Empire. Like the common stormtrooper isn't gonna know who this Lord Vader guy is, but to the general public, they don't know who this guy is. There have been stories and everything. There have been theories put out about within the universe itself, within the Star Wars universe, that who is this Vader guy, and some of them think, well, perhaps it's a rebuilt version of General Grievous or something like that, or an upgraded version of General Grievous. Nobody knows. Well, amongst the general population, nobody knows that Anakin Skywalker is Darth Vader.
I'm just saying the name Vader.
Well, yeah, Vader itself.
Okay.
It would just be amongst the upper echelon of the imperial hierarchy, the military and the bureaucracy. That'd be about it.
Yep.
Tarkin, the other Moffs, Palpatine, maybe some of the admirals, in particular Grand Admiral Thrawn, but that's about it.
Yeah. I will comment. Disney took some risk here. I can't believe like they showed him Darth Vader crack that kid's neck or whatever. I mean I like that scene. He's going there just wrecking shop and then trying to entice Obi-Wan to come out. I like some of that elements. But then again, I was like, well, your whole mission is to you're saving Leia right now, but your main mission is Luke, right? And him kind of sacrificing himself. Maybe I guess he was kind of drawing them away from Leia and Tala or whatever for escape and stuff like that. But then again, this Obi-Wan is like a fraction of himself, seemingly. Just it's not. He doesn't seem like Obi-Wan. He's Ben now. He just prefers. No, I'm just Ben.
Well, on your live stream the other day, people were talking about Obi-Wan can't run when he was with Leia in the city, right? Same thing here. He runs like a fucking old man.
That's true.
Why can't he run? I don't know if he's injured, or what, but it's like, wow. He's running away, he's fleeing, and it's like embarrassing to watch. And again, there's good stuff in the episode. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but that kind of stuff is important.
No, and I agree. I mean, look, we're all gonna look at these shows with varying perspectives. You've brought up good points. George, you brought up good points. Tim, you've brought up good points. I have brought up good points. For me, how Obi-Wan runs, I think, is, at least from my perspective, a physical tell of his mental state. He is a broken man. Is he maybe is the portrayal of his brokenness maybe a little too overdone? Yeah, maybe. But I myself don't see it that way. I don't see him as being too broken. I see him as how, at least to my logic, how Obi-Wan Kenobi would potentially be at this point in his life. Now, to the point of, is he too broken to train Luke? Maybe right now, yeah. But that doesn't mean that he can't potentially point him to Yoda. He can say, I can't train you, but here's somebody who can. And then he sends him off to Yoda. That's a possibility right there. But we know that he does go through very limited training with Ben in A New Hope, and that's it. So we've been going for about 2.5 hours. I'm going to let everybody have a last word and everything, because I'm getting a little tired. I worked today, and I'm starting to drag myself. So, but guys, great conversation. And Tim, I appreciate you coming in. Zach, as always, George, and of course Price. I know he isn't here now, but I'm gonna let each of you have a last word on this, and then we're gonna wrap it up for the evening. So, guys, whoever wants to go first, the floor is yours.
I guess I'll go first. I'm enjoying Obi-Wan so far. I'm just wondering, like, the potential to, like, be even greater. Like, is it being held back? Or, like, certain characters like Reva being held back, and are they going to get overshadowed? But I'm enjoying it so far, and I feel like right now the future for Star Wars is streaming. I think this is the direction that they should go, no matter how good or just okay the show can be. Like right now, I think the shows have been better than the Disney movies so far.
I mean the show is it's flawed. Um, like I said, I'm kind of 50-50 on it. I mean, there's some good stuff in there. I like the acting. I think Ewan's doing a great job. So for me, it's worth it just to see him act as the character again, to whatever capacity, you know. But I mean, here's the deal: they've got to get like a real storyline going on where it's not a bunch of fetch quest storylines. They need to put together some real storylines, and it just drives me nuts. You know, it's like he's going here, he's doing this, he's doing that. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of surface level to me in a certain way. They better give me some Clone Wars. So I wouldn't mind seeing Palpatine. I want to see Palpatine, Qui-Gon, and some Clone Wars. But I don't know. I mean, we'll see what happens.
On Zach, I think we'll definitely see Qui-Gon, or at least because he's been trying to reach him. Like at the start of this episode, he was trying to reach him, but he couldn't, and then he started having like the trauma with Darth Vader flashbacks. But as far as moving forward,
they hit Liam with that racism thing. So it's a question mark whether or not they're gonna bring him in.
Gotcha. Well, I hope they do. But what was I going to say about this? I kind of agree with Zach on the side quest thing. Like, I think it would have been interesting enough or compelling enough just to have him like kind of running away on his own, having to move around Tatooine, but still find ways to save Luke. I think that would have been far more interesting. And I think it would have been epic to have all the Grand Inquisitors, like an epic battle where Obi-Wan, kind of mops them towards the end. And it's all out epic battle. But as far as like moving forward in this fourth episode, we're left with Reva capturing Leia. So we see Leia kind of running away. But I'm going to assume she catches her. And then we have Obi-Wan. They're taking him to get healed and probably in a bacta tank or something like that. I don't know. I honestly don't know what's going to happen. What scares me, it's only 6 episodes, and how are they going to put a nice bow around this? So I'm cautiously optimistic, but kind of not. I'm optimistic, but I'm not. That's it. I really hope they stick the landing. If the finale is great, it kind of heals some of the start stuff, right? Like in WandaVision, I know it gets brought up, but overall I liked WandaVision, but the landing just didn't stick, and so people are like, oh, the landing didn't stick, so the whole series is bad. So I can see where people are coming from, but I really hope this sticks the landing. That's it.
I think we'll probably see Liam Neeson. If not physically, we'll definitely hear him. If nothing else, which I'd be okay with, because as Steven brought up, he's going to be returning, him and his son both, for the Tales of the Jedi animated series that they're going to be doing. I think it comes out next year. I'll have to go back and check my notes from the stuff from Celebration. But thus far, as we've been talking about for the last 2.5 hours, for myself, the series has been engaging. It's been entertaining, and I think it's been a step in the right direction. So I have faith that Deborah Chow, that they were able to stick the landing for this series, because this is a character that we as Star Wars fans, both major and minor, all love. We all care about, portrayed by 2 great actors, Alec Guinness and Ewan McGregor. And I hope this series does service to this great iconic character, the crazy old man out in the desert, waiting for his chance to lead a young hero on his first step into a larger world, to quote the late great Alec Guinness. So, anyways, guys and gals, geeks, nerds, and ambassadors, that's going to be the stream for tonight. I want to thank everybody who tuned in tonight, and I want to thank my panel, Mr. Lear, Mr. Zach Leary, Just George, Price is Right, Tim. Guys, great discussion. Always appreciate you all being here, and appreciate your insights. I do want to let you all know I will be going live tomorrow afternoon with another Afternoons with the Ambassador as I continue my X-Men series review. We'll be doing X-Men First Class. So I haven't set the time yet for that as of yet, but I will mention it and everything on my social media once I do set up that stream. And got some other things in the works. I've been reaching out to some other channels and everything in terms of collaborations and new series and everything of that I'm working on as well. And of course, as I mentioned, Madam Ambassador is currently working on the edit for the script for the Unity of the Force radio drama, which Mr. Leary and Mr. Tim will be a part of in the future. So we'll keep you all abreast of that as it progresses. So, but that all being said, folks, you will have a great night. Thank you for being here tonight. Stay ambassadorial, and until next time, these are the ambassadors signing off.